On the videos. Give me another episode of SNTR Gaming News talking about the New World territory control exploit that has emerged. Another one, yes, has emerged. I'll break it down for you right here at the beginning of this stream. We'd go into a scene like this, and I give you a very, very quick breakdown of the issue. If you like these streams and my coverage, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you don't miss my live streams. I am going to end the other stream and bring people over with the redirect. This is an SNTR update. Another New World exploit for territory control has emerged, and this one is a little strange and surprising that people are doing it, but at this point, it's hard to be surprised at the lengths people will go to exploit in New World. If you like these SNTR updates, hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss my live streams and my uploads. Actually, I stream on SNTR Gaming, so check out that channel if you want live streams. So what exactly is happening? I had to pull this from Game Rant, an article that they did about this situation, because somebody on Reddit sort of exposed what's happening, and I'm in shock that people are doing this, but it's happening. So a Reddit user by the name of Izagayoku shared a post showing that New World companies are using their subsidiaries to attack themselves and prevent further wars from being declared on territories controlled by them. Now, you hear that and you think, wait, how's that work? Oh, imagine that your company's name is the Big Guys, and you are the purple faction. And then you have the Big Guys Part 2 that are the orange faction. So it's all the same sort of company and organization, and yet you're actually aligned to different factions. So what they do is they attack themselves, and then they never actually, lose the war. So it keeps a perpetual territory control because the other companies can't. They're basically always tying themselves up in eternal and unfailing war. So this is an exploit, according to the article, that makes it impossible for other companies and factions to dethrone those who are currently in power, making it even harder to have a shot at controlling other territories within Eternum. Wars are already painful at times due to some weapons dominating over others, and trivializing fights and issues like this one makes it worse. So this is just a continued problem for New World. PvP continues to pose problems for this game. When you have the servers and the server's health and the economy driven and manipulated and controlled by players, it can lead to really, really bad things, which is essentially what is happening, right? This is another instance of the players kind of harming the game. Now, there's good, bad, and ongoing problems with territory control. Let's talk about the good. The good parts of territory control is it creates an ongoing tension in the game. There's always a reason to log in and check. There's always something to work on and contribute to. And the territory control leads to wealth and advantages and power in the game, which keeps the game going organically. That's actually one of the good things about it. It's a smart idea to maintain intrigue, interest, and relevancy so that servers stay healthy. Okay. Now, the bad aspects of territory control is some servers turn into a landslide, and then people have less incentive to play or dive in, which leads them to stop playing, which can lead to server drought, which can lead to not enough people playing, not enough tax dollars being generated, and then the server slowly dies and compounds itself and has to be server merged. So there are bad elements to the New World territory control aspects of the game. Lastly, it's an ongoing thorn in the side of the game right now, because all of the exploits we've seen from people cheating in wars, exploiting, the mass reporting that people were doing to get people banned, apparently that doesn't work anymore. We got an official word from somebody at Amazon Games that said that is not something that works. People are still trying to do it, but it's not working. I find that incredibly strange that 3 months into the game's life cycle, people are continuing to do this, even if it doesn't work, because the streamer was caught on a stream saying, oh yeah, let's do it, let's report these people. I don't know why you would do that 3 months in if it wasn't working. It has to work some of the time, or else people wouldn't be still trying to do it. I think that's a pretty logical way to look at it, okay? The question I have is, will this game ever reach equilibrium? Will you ever be able to boot up the game and not have to worry about the trade house being shut down or a gold exploit happening? Or, in this case, an elaborate scheme to perpetuate total territory control with subsidiary companies in opposing factions who keep you in a perpetual state of war so no one can do the same to you, and then actually have a good fight. We'll continue to monitor this game and cover it. Head over to SNTR Gaming if you want to see the live streams, and if you're over here on SNTR Updates, hit subscribe and the bell button, and I'll see you in the next one. And I'll see the rest of you right now. This just continues to be, I think, probably a very frustrating experience for fans of the game and for the developers themselves to every week have to see another New World exploit landing in the game, this one in the way of a New World territory control exploit, creating perpetual dominance, essentially, for companies that are using subsidiary companies of opposing factions to make it impossible to unseat them. Very, very, very crazy, honestly, that this has even been conceived of, because you have to have an opposing subsidiary, faction, an opposing subsidiary company in a faction that can do enough to even unseat you. Like, that's the part about it that's crazy to me. Like, how do you get a subsidiary company even in that position of strength so they can perpetually attack you and then just like let you essentially keep the territory? Like, that's the part that is kind of blowing my mind. That level of involvement is pretty high. And what's keeping people wanting to do that? Why are they doing it, right? Jedi Fallen Order is currently on sale or whatever. Oh, it's free for Amazon Prime members via Prime Gaming. You get an origin code. Well, there you go. You can, but there are big benefits to owning territory: increased luck, harvest boost, cheaper Azoth travel, etc. Yeah, did they? Yeah, you could pay them to throw. Exactly, Christina. So you keep your subsidiary companies happy because they're opposing factions that are just perpetuating your dominance, and you just pay them to do that. Technus Corner, how are you? Hello. What's good, J-Stubs? Yeah, J-Stubs, do they have any plans to deal with this? With essentially, it's not necessarily a cheat, but it certainly would be considered not being done in the spirit of the game to create subsidiary companies in opposing factions, attack yourself, and then you can never actually flip the territory maps. Have you ever watched a streamer like this before? Hit no, smash the like button, peeps. Yeah, new stream, so make sure you're in live chat and make sure you smash that like button. These issues have caused me to lose all interest in playing the game, says Silent Warrior. I got to level 60 and the endgame's terrible. Not a big PvP fan, but exploits like this make me glad I never dabble in New World PvP. I am actually really excited to see what New World DLC plans that they're rolling out in February. Because I just want to get to 60 and then just kind of grind and enjoy the game. And the last time I tried to play and kind of continue getting closer to 60, it was just like, like you said, like the end game's just really rough. You know what I mean? Good afternoon, Lono in chat. First time I've been able to catch your afternoon stream live. Yo, what's good, DBS Purge? Thank you for being here. Probably better to make territory upkeep a team effort. Players do town boards, etc. for territory upkeep. Only thing I can think of is some sort of a cooldown on how often a specific company can declare war on the same territory. Yeah, because they already do something like that. Because they don't want you just to perpetually just, oh, we lost the war, do it again. Oh, we lost the war, do it again. There is a certain amount of buffer, but I don't think there's anything currently in the way of like a buffer for people of the same company attacking the same spot over and over and over again. Hey, somebody ordered some coffee at the end of that last stream. It was Dwayne. Thank you, Dwayne, for ordering a Frickmas and 2 light roasts. Appreciate that very, very much. Tomorrow wasn't great, but I think we you tend to go back. Go ahead, pick some new teas. Okay, cool. So we did okay with 80s teas in December, and we're gonna try and build back. We're obviously on a growth pattern, so 2022 should be a little bit better. We should see some good growth in our 80s teas code usage over the course of this year. I think a lot of you have just diverted to buying coffee, which I'm totally fine with. But as this channel and viewership grows throughout this year, we would hope that we would see a good trend with 80s teas because they've been very good to us. This is a 200 IQ strategy. Right. It may be a much more worthwhile investment for them to pull a Realm Reborn instance. I feel like they would have good ideas, but the constant changing of what the game was before launch. Yeah, I don't think they need to change fundamentals of the game. They just need to stop this nonsense from happening. Are servers reset after a prescribed time? No. No, they don't do anything like that. If they do a New World server merge, you just go into, you get 50K per territory or just territory. I think if you own any territory, they give your company like 50 grand, so that way you can go and start a war in the new server. But you go in and it's their map is set as it is, right? Your set's dope. Still in the basement? No, we bought a house early last year, and I am in a basement, but I'm in a finished basement. Like I'm in a big. So this was a bedroom before we moved in. So half the basement is finished and half is not. And so I got like sound dampening boards on the wall. We put that up. That's more for show. That doesn't do much. The room already had like zero echo before we did that with the lighting and everything. So yeah, we've not been in the dungeon basement since like we moved in here May of 2020, I believe. It was May, I think. So glad your stuff's on the rise. Thank you. I bet your work would prefer you to come in with a t-shirt than with coffee. Good morning, Vapor. Good to see you. If you guys are just tuning in, we're covering the New World Territory Control exploit, where companies are using subsidiary companies of opposing factions to perpetually attack themselves and never actually lose the territory because they're basically throwing. That is essentially what's going on, and not really sure if New World has a response to this. Not sure if they're going to be able to do anything, because you would basically have to look at the names of the companies and say, oh, it's obvious that you're doing this, which would then mean all they'd have to do to, I guess, fly under the radar is then change the name of the subsidiary companies to not match. And then if they weren't matching, then nobody would really know it was happening, right? Like, the only reason people know it's happening is because the subsidiary companies have like the same dadgum name, and that's how people know that it's working, or that's how the people that they know that are doing it, right? It reminds me of the D2 Trials Hockey scheme. Yeah, you put on the Hockey emblem, and then you throw or whatever people were doing. Always insane seeing the lengths, Kenneth's, the lengths players will go to cheat a system. What's up, man? Enjoyed your videos you put out over the weekend. Oh, thank you. D-Crew, I saw your feedback about the music on Twitter. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I literally just go to a lo-fi playlist. I can't even hear the music when I'm doing the video. I just throw on Harris Heller's lo-fi, and I just go and do the video in one take. We don't have like a set amount of songs that we use or something. I just put the playlist on random. So what about term limits for how long a company can hold a territory? Yeah, I don't know. That seems like that would go against the spirit of the game, right? You know? Glad to catch a stream as I'm about to drive home in a snowstorm. Good to listen. Good listens. Oh, thank you so much. If you did term limits, you know, because right now the New World Territory Control exploit is for perpetual control. Let's say they weren't doing that and they were maintaining territory control in a legitimate way. Is it fair to just take it from them after a while? Do you see what I'm saying? If they are legitimately maintaining their territory for an extended period of time, I don't think it makes any sense to go and be like, yeah, it's been long enough, boop, and you like take it from them. These kinds of things always make things worse for the average player, right? Christina says it depends on how much the server talks and negotiates within the factions. This type of thing happens on our server, but it's decided on by all faction companies. Even with term limits, they would just give it to their company in the opposing faction. That's exactly right. They would just roll it over to somebody, you know, to another faction. Someone cuts themselves, outlaws non-retractable box cut. Not so much term, says Creature. I don't like that, but I do believe you should be forced to defend the territory even if no one can afford to challenge. Isn't that what the invasions are supposed to be? No, respecting players' time is crucial. I agree. Should just do different territory seasons at some point. Mawasi says, I'm not surprised the game has so many exploits and issues. The developers were willing to suddenly make drastic changes late into development from a PvP sandbox to PvE theme park. Right. Yeah, I think they saw. We talked about that, how I think that's going to influence Ashes of Creation. I think Ashes of Creation is going to make changes to the fabric of being PvP all the time, because I think they're seeing how successful you can be in the market of people that are like, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to have to worry about fighting for my life all the time from real players. Even with Ashes of Creation has a system to discourage like griefing and stuff, but still, I still think they're going to look at what New World's doing and potentially modify their strategy. Should players' time be respected when players disrespected the game? Well, in this scenario, what I'm talking about, Ashen, is if they are legitimately maintaining their New World territory control and they're not doing a New World exploit, then you shouldn't just go in and be like, well, you've owned the territory long enough, bloop, and they take it from them. I don't think that's a good idea. I outlined the good and the bad and the ongoing frustrations, right, with respect to the territory control. I think it's good. I think it brings good things to the game. But you know what I mean? Was this discussed? The Halo Infinite lead narrative designer left. That's actually very common after a game launches. Narrative leads leave a lot after a game launches. I'm not trying to gloss over it because they're supposed to have an ongoing, evolving story over the next 10 years, so it is interesting to leave since it's supposed to be an ongoing game with more story, but it's actually very common for games to launch and narrative leads to, the narrative lead, they end up leaving. Their job is done. They set the ethos and the trajectory and now they're gone. I like what Ashes of Creation is doing, says Steam Crow. When a siege takes place, it's played out for a week prior. Notice is given, and the game has a set time. Well, then that happens in New World. Like, you know when the war is happening. You can even pick when it happens. Like, the mayor or whatever picks when it happens, and then selects people to play. Being able to challenge a company or whatever isn't the player's fault. They aren't cheating. The studio needs to fix that problem themselves. Don't punish the players as if it's their fault. Right, you can't be like, well, we got to set term limits on territory control. Why? Well, because people are exploiting and maintaining territory, for an infinitude. Okay, well, address that. Don't set, term limits on territory control. What if I'm doing it legitimately, If I'm doing it legitimately, you know what I mean? A few bands were because my brother sent me like a band to check out. I was like, why am I getting a message over here? In my mind, the best thing to do is there has to be a tension between maintaining territory control and the benefits, so that potentially, if you own the entire server, it's supposed to be a challenge to do that. It's not supposed to be like total world domination and then like no one can touch you. It's supposed to be difficult to maintain the territories, not just something that you kind of do like it's free and easy. I don't know how they fix it without something drastic. The question would be, how many servers is this happening on? The New World territory control exploit, how many servers is it taking place on? What is stopping another company from declaring war? So what happens is the subsidiary company. So let's say you have company A and they're purple, but then company A has a subsidiary company that's also orange, and they keep attacking and throwing them into perpetual war. But then they let the purple keep it. It's like it's the same company under different factions. So they're making it impossible for anybody else to declare war because they keep it up. They basically immediately attack again. There's a time period where you can't, and they immediately go back in and do it again. So you'd have to. It's essentially a faction that's betraying its faction. So you're orange, but you're not really orange. Your allegiance is to the company, and the company is purple. And so you attack, and they keep control because they don't. You're attacking purely to block others from attacking, so that they can't throw them into a war. I understand the subsidiary is going through the steps. What's stopping another company from doing it, though? The way I read it is they're too quick. I guess I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why other companies in the faction aren't able to step in and say, no, we're going to attack now. Basically, this is an exploit that makes it impossible for other companies and factions to dethrone those who are currently in power, making it even harder to have a shot at controlling the territories in Eternum. Wars are already painful. Yeah, it just says, New World companies are using their subsidiaries to attack themselves and prevent further wars from being declared on the territories that control them. So it's probably not a foolproof thing, Eugene, but they're probably consistently doing it, and people aren't catching on. Does that make sense? Like, it's probably not foolproof. There are probably moments where there are moments where, yeah, somebody else sneaks in and actually is able to attack and declare war. But if they consistently do it, they're avoiding wars on a pretty regular basis. An attack gives the attacking company faction a longer cooldown time. Wait. An attack gives the attacking company or faction a longer cooldown time? Well, then wouldn't that company not be able to do it again the next time? Just make the territory NFTs. I'm for in the New World. I know it's an Amazon-owned game, but these aren't real-life companies, right? No, so there are factions. There are 3 factions. There is purple, orange, and green. And when you pick a faction, you then can form a company up to 100 people, and so that's like your clan. Right? That's like your guild. So I don't know why they didn't just go with guild, because that would be I think that would be a little bit easier for most people to understand. If you're new, by the way, and you're just now learning about this, feel free to hit subscribe and chime in the chat. I don't really have a good poll question for you guys this afternoon. I guess we could do this. New World territory control. How can Amazon improve it? Let's see. Limit how long territory can be held. Are held. Limit how long territory is held. What else could they do? Make it harder to hold a territory. I think those are your 2 options, right? You either limit how long a territory can be held, or you just have to make it harder to hold a territory. Or does it here. It's fine how it is. There you go. It's fine how it is. Server resets? I don't know about server resets. Do you think we should have server resets on the poll? So you either limit how long, make it harder to hold, or server resets, or it's fine how it is. Like 4 results. I don't know. What server resets doesn't even seem like a that doesn't even seem like that you would want to do that. People invest so much time and money into taking territory controls. If you just did server resets, golly, like that, you're really going to motivate people to not play. People will be like, why on earth would I spend time trying to, take a territory or do all this work and spend all this money if I'm going to end up just having it all taken away and reset? Unless they did some sort of like oh, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of money in the event that we decide to do this, I don't know. It to me, the reason it's so dicey, okay? The reason it's so dicey is because there is so much time, money, and investment that goes into taking over a territory. You can't just arbitrarily take that away from people. Okay, so Akuta Papa says, if green attacks purple, green gets a cooldown that's longer than yellow's. That would help to balance it out a bit. Unless they have subsidiaries in both colors. If they have a subsidiary company in both green and yellow, they can just continually attack purple, no problem. Thanks, Mama. What's that? Peanut butter? Light on food. Yeah. Can't expect people to invest in territory if you're just going to take it away. it's a catch-22 because like you have to make territory control challenging, difficult, and costly. And the minute you do that, you can't just like arbitrarily take it from people because you want to reset the server or like make it easier for everybody else. But if you don't do that, then servers end up getting kind of like stuck in time because it's like, well, yeah, I mean, we don't want to take things away from people that have worked hard for it. And when you don't take things away from people that have worked hard for it, the server just can reach sort of like a stalemate. The best way to maintain territory is to extinguish shared houses with only one house per player. Lost territory, lost home. And in order to have a territory, all the houses must be occupied in permanent tents around the settlements. That sounds so involved. I had this issue on my server before the merges happened, says Yukin. I ended up stopping playing on my server. I created a new player on a different one, not having an issue on my current one that I can tell. My company is the only purple territory on our server, but we have to make sure all crafting is at tier 5 and resident perks are running, as well as maintaining town boards. We do what we can for the faction. As a core of the game, it's a hard solution. Yeah, it's literally a centrality in the game itself. Like New World territory control exploit is just like the economy exploits. It's a threat to one of the main fabrics of the game, one of the main elements of the game. Territories can only be held for 3 months in territory, but when it resets, it tends to encourage everyone to fight for them again. Yeah, maybe. If they know there's a set time where everything resets, I don't know though. What you'd have to do, and this, how do you not turn this into rich get richer? You'd have to have some significant rewards for people holding territory right before the reset happens. So if you're holding like 4 territories right when the reset happens, your company should get like a junk ton of stuff. But you have to be careful because if not, you're just going to make the rich get richer. They're going to be able to roll that over into the reset and just take over again. So maybe make, I don't know, like really cool cosmetic rewards maybe, or I don't know. If you're going to do a server reset, people need to be compensated pretty handsomely for all the work they did to get those territories that they're about to lose, because you're going to tick a lot of people off. By the way, if you're new and hitting subscribe, be sure to say something in chat. We love hearing from new folks about these subjects. I'm a Safe for Work broadcaster, so we did a show this morning about Square Enix did their own NFT announcement, and that was this morning's show. And now we're talking about New World Territory Control exploit. Feels like every week there's another New World exploit, and you know, I'm not even sure how they're going to fix this one, because this one's very unique and very specific and well orchestrated, I must say. Like, gee, many Christmas. Couldn't they just set it to where your company needs to be 30 days old to declare war and can only declare war on specific region once per month? You limit it too much, though, and then it's going to be impossible to declare war. It would stop them from being able to abuse fake wars more than twice a month and give other companies a chance to declare. Oh, limit it per company, not per faction. Yeah, that would make more sense. Even then, people can exploit that system. If they intentionally lose for a day before reset and then gain it again until the next day before reset. Yeah, but even then, it's not that easy to lose and gain. Like, you'd actually have to legitimately, like, fight and win. Limiting time could turn people off even wanting to get it. Right, because you're like, well, that's why you would want to have a strong incentive to hold it at the end. You'd get the benefits all throughout the season of holding it, and then when you have it at the very end, you'd get a bunch of rewards for having it at the very end right before it resets. So you'd be literally fighting down until the bitter end, and that would keep it relevant. You know? That would keep it super, super relevant, because like all the way until the very, very end of the season, people would have a vested interest to fight for those territories, you know, because it would create like a, hey, you know, we really, really want this. We really want this to happen, you know. The New World Twitter account liked our tweet today, so they must be aware of it. They appreciate the coverage, I guess. Thanks for liking the tweet, New World. I appreciate it. That makes more sense. Yeah, you would need to have a drive because you always want the territory for the benefits, but there'd be a really strong drive like, hey, it's the final week before reset, and the more territories you own, the more like you're going to be compensated. Now, again, you got to be careful to not create a rich get richer, because if you own 5 territories and you're given a junk ton of money and wealth and everything on the reset, well, then you're going to be able to roll right back into dominance. But at the same time, what would you give them then? I guess it's a bunch of cool cosmetics? I don't know. A complex mechanism required to make it work. Now someone figured out a simple puzzle and abused it for their own interest because someone who created it didn't think deep enough. Oh yeah, that's gaming exploits 101, right? That's just Twitter speak for shut up. Liking the tweet? No, it's not. No, because that promotes it. Anybody who follows that account will see that they liked it. I see tweets in my feed all the time because other people like the tweet. Like that's not how that works. I'm curious to see when they're going to start talking about the February stuff. That's what I want to know. I want details about that. Yo, what's good, BMac? A lot of games have where owning territories generates points until the end of the season, and then the guild with the most points gets rewards. Are players going to be playing with friends in opposite armies? Why not seasonally shake up the server? Like a dominating faction is then put into a server with other dominating factions, and then have a grandiose tier list. No, people aren't gonna want to get moved to a new server because they're doing well. People would not like that. That would not go over well at all. If you're like, hey, you did great and you dominated, so we're gonna move you to a new server where other people are dominating, you'd be like, wait, what? We don't want to get moved because we did well. Do you see what I mean? Skill-based matchmaking for clans. Yeah, like maybe what you could do to shake things up is you incentivize that. Like, hey, if your company wants to move to this more competitive server, then there's potential really good rewards to be had. So you thin out the dominance by giving people an incentive to do that. But my gosh, server merges alone were a nightmare, let alone doing essentially, that's not a server transfer token, that's a dadgum company move. Like that, I don't even know if they have the technology built to do that. Just be like picking a company up and dropping them off over here. They even said in order for you to move your company to a new server, they said that you had to abandon the company on server A and then make it again on server B to free up the name. So the name wouldn't be available unless you completely abandon the company on the primary server. So they don't even have a technological logistical system to do that yet. I mean, they obviously could, but presently they don't. If they do cool events before reset, kind of something along the line of like WoW's war efforts to unlock a raid, those players got exclusive mounts and titles for opening the raid in their server. Right, you'd have to make them items that don't carry over wealth into the reset, because if they can carry over wealth into the reset, then it would just perpetuate their dominance. Hey, you had 5 territories. Here's a ton of wealth to do it again. You know? Did he just suggest skill-based matchmaking? No. He was, I think in the realm of incentive, it could work. They get money for territories that they don't invest back into it. It punishes the homeowners in that territory. It should be wars, but also their leadership from the faction. I thought YouTube chat didn't let us post anything but facts. They should have designed with merges and splits as a mechanic instead of doing one with no plan for the other. Well, and here's the funny thing about New World server merges. They did them so late, it felt like. It felt super late in the grand scheme of things. They did not feel timely, like, at all. It felt like, hey, you know, it's been a while. All right, we'll give you guys some server merges now after you've been waiting, you know, for 3 months for it. In many cases, I think people, not 3 months, I think people felt like they were waiting for approximately, you know, 2 months or so. because it was about a month in when some of the servers started to clearly have, population degradation problems. Like there weren't enough people playing, which leads to, you're not generating any tax dollars. And if you're not generating any tax dollars with your company, well, then owning all that territory is worthless, because there's nobody coming in and using the trade houses. There's nobody coming in and interacting with anything. They're just sort of like there. So it was a bummer for people to have to move from one server to another, but they weren't benefiting anyway. It's like, okay, you had 4 territories on a dead server. Who gives a crap? That wasn't generating any wealth for you. I'm just working and lurking, but have we mentioned how once the map is fully revealed, it will likely be a much faster territory turnover rate due to the sheer number of them? Oh, Fozzie, I don't know. What? Maybe they have something planned for February that'll balance some of this out. Currently, the New World Territory Control exploit is people creating subsidiary companies in opposing factions to attack themselves with. Jerry says, war should not be scheduled. It should be up for grabs at all times. Oh, you can't do that. You have to be able to appropriately plan and defend. It's a 50 versus 50 event. You can't just have those happening haphazardly. That wouldn't work. You can't just be like, yeah, it's random. Thursday afternoon, you're suddenly under attack. We flipped our server purple in a week. Yeah, Eden had a really, really strong purple push. A bunch of people came over to our server. Our New World server was pretty healthy and pretty equalized after that happened. I don't know how it is now. The last couple times I checked, it was all orange with a little bit of green and a little bit of purple. Started out all green with a little bit of orange and a little bit of purple. Purple's not been able to make a run for it. Every time they've tried, they've it's like a seesaw. They get some and lose some. I misunderstood what the conversation was about. Oh, no, you're good. You're good. We're suggesting, we have a poll at the top of the chat. Like, what should they do? New World territory control. How can Amazon improve it? Limit how long a territory is held, make it harder to hold a territory, or it's fine how it is. Making it hard to hold a territory is winning by a little margin against limit how long a territory is being held. And then there's like a fourth of the audience is like, it's fine how it is. Like, just leave it alone is how some people are looking at it, which it's understandable. It's understandable because if you work really, really hard to get to get all these territories, the last thing you want to do is have Amazon Games come in and start fiddling with it. And in fiddling with it, they start basically undercutting your investment and your value. If you've spent a month back and forth, waging war, defending, and then you suddenly find yourself in a scenario where they come in and tweak things and mess with things, well, I think you would justifiably be pretty ticked about that. You'd be like, wait a minute, you just undercut all of our investment. Keep capture as random and not on set timers? What do you mean? There's nothing random. You have to do a bunch of PvP missions in a given town. And when you do enough of those missions, you can then declare war on that town. And when you declare war, the defenders get to pick when it happens. And then you have all this time to prepare. So they pick their 50 people that are going to defend, and you pick your 50 people that are going to attack. And then whenever everybody shows up, you can obviously have standby people, like a backup list, if like 8 people don't show up, and then you can have 8 people, funnel in and take those spots. And then it's a big 50 versus 50 battle. You've got stuff you can build to shoot at people. You've got, PvP battles on the ground. And then winner takes all. Or winner takes the town, I mean. The game still feels like early access, not gonna lie. Things are changing around so rapidly based on feedback. Definitely not something a release game should be doing. I found it to be... This is kind of the conundrum, isn't it? We've talked a little bit about this with Halo Infinite, where immediate implementation of feedback tells me 2 things. It tells me that feedback is valuable. It tells me that the company has a vested interest in listening to us. But it's also like, Is your game's identity going to be really diluted if you're just constantly pivoting the seesaw in response to players? Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're constantly adjusting New World to the whims of the player base, are you potentially going to have a pretty diluted identity? Or is it a stroke of genius where a year from now you have a game that has been molded by the community that plays it and supports it, and therefore it's more healthy, right? Yo, what's good, Corver? It's great that they're willing to change, but it seems like they themselves don't know what they want to do. I've said very similar things about Halo Infinite. I'm like, yo, it's awesome that you completely changed from, threat detector to classic radar, but why were you so off the mark? It's great that you've tried to implement changes for the Halo Battle Pass, but why were you so off the mark? Now, I think I'm a little bit more patient with a game like New World, and let me tell you why. New World is a living, breathing, online MMORPG live service. It's an organic being, right? And so it has to be given, I think, more flexibility to adjust, update, and adapt itself to what that community wants. And here's why. Prior to New World launching, there was not a New World community or body of players with ideas, behavioral patterns, aspirations, and feedback. It didn't exist prior to that. Now, Halo's another animal because Halo had the Master Chief Collection and years of the Halo franchise to base some of their predictions off of, with how to structure the battle pass, or how to have, the game modes slated, or how radar should work. New World's different because it's a brand new game and a brand new community. So it makes sense that they would be like, we got to kind of adapt the game to what people want because you guys weren't here 6 months ago. This collection of people, wasn't here 6 months ago. So, okay, you don't like this, or you do like this, or, oh my gosh, you guys are boar farming this one section of the map. We didn't think this was going to be a thing, but here we are. Got to patch that. Oh, wow, people have figured out how to do gold. Oh, wow, people are using subsidiary companies to do a New World territory control exploit. Great. Oh, another New World exploit. Here's some New World gold duping. And they're having to put all those fires out while also having to say, okay, hardcore grinders and hardcore players, endgame-minded players, they don't like the New World high watermark system, so we're going to launch a brand new World expertise system. And before they even pushed out the expertise system, they decided to say, okay, well, rather than having gear get pulled down, we'll have gear meet in the middle, according to, like, if you equip and it's at here and your gear is here and the expertise is here, like, it'll meet you in the middle. Like, they adjusted the way that played out because people provided feedback and said, man, you're really going to gut a lot of our existing gear if, and they're like, okay, well, we'll meet you in the middle. Or if gear drops or you find gear or whatever that's not of the same and you equip it, it'll take an effective gear score in the middle between where it is and where that slot is. So they even implemented that by pulling in player feedback. New World doesn't have 20 years of player data and feedback. Right. They only had a year of the MMO design. It was reset, I believe, twice before its launch. That speaks of an unclear vision prior to launch. I'm honestly surprised how much they did in a year. Right. And so they deserve credit because, like you said, they completely changed the direction of the game multiple times, and the fact that they actually had an MVP, a minimum viable product, to deliver, to sell, and for people to play with that was high in demand to an absurd degree, that's a testament to how good they are as developers. But on the other side of the coin, you're like, it also kind of feels like you guys are flying by the seat of your pants, which means the game could run into a wall or run aground because where's the vision? Where's the vision casting? What trajectory, are you setting for this game? So you deserve credit for your agility and your adaptability to the whims of a community and to the demands of a ravenous, out-of-nowhere community. They deserve some praise for that. But the worry and the concern would be, okay, where is the game going? Do you even know? When Anthem... I was at EA Play 2019, because I was hosting for E3 main stage, but days before E3 was EA Play, and I was in a closed door meeting with Anthem community leads and devs, okay? And they were talking about content pieces that they wanted to add, and they wanted our feedback on the content pieces. In general, I walked away from that meeting with less confidence in the game than before. Why? They were listening to feedback, Lono. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Sure. They were listening to feedback about compartments on the ship, and the ship didn't know where it was going. What kind of a game did you want Anthem to be? Was it going to be a min-maxing game? Was it going to be a loot-based game? How are you going to structure your end game? What's the replayability? What's the elasticity? What's the longevity? Where is the game going? You just adding compartments of content doesn't mean jack squat if I don't know what larger picture that content fits into, right? So if there's a larger framework of, so when you're playing Borderlands 3 and they launch a DLC, you have a good idea of where that DLC frames and fits in that game. Why? Because the game has a clear identity. You're like, oh, this is the type of game that it is. It's a sort of linear multi-playthrough looter shooter with a campaign, and they're going to be adding loot in campaigns that can then also be run linearly through multiple playthroughs. Cool. Awesome. Right? With New World, that would be the question, and the concern is, like, what kind of a game do you want New World to be in a year? So I know that, and then that means when you do new content pushes, updates, adjustments, or tweaks, I know this fits in a larger framework. So when they adjust expeditions and they start talking about modifiers for expeditions, what they mutators for expeditions. So that you got the New World mutators. That was announced. So the expeditions are going to have mutators in them. Okay, cool. I have a basic framework of understanding where that fits. But as I've said many, many times, one of the most important things I think they could do, and they started this in December with like an hour and a half long video. They called it like a New World update, December team something. And they're probably going to do one in January. That's a great start. The next thing you need to do, as best you can, we need a roadmap so that we can start to fit DLC and investments and where the game is going into an overarching framework of like, okay, here's where the game is going. John says, there's no excuse. There are millions of MMO content creators. They seem like they have none. They fail at basic concepts. I don't feel like they failed at basic concepts. I feel like they failed at the more complex concepts. How many games have successfully run an ongoing, expanding MMO live service game with community-driven territory control and a community-driven economy? How many games have successfully done it? Very few, right? You could probably name a handful that have. And would their systems be a perfect one-to-one, like, adaptable fit into how New World's been built? We got to admit something, and this is something that gamers, I think, really, really struggle with right now, is understanding that ongoing live service games like MMOs and stuff, there aren't very many that have done it well. There aren't. The ongoing live service game, especially the ongoing live service game without a subscription, how many of them are there? There's very few. There's a handful that have stumbled their way to success. What you got Destiny, you got ESO, you got what? Not very many others. A lot of the games that have tried an ongoing live service function or format, they have not done very, very well. That I'm not making excuses, by the way. What I'm trying to do is paint a contextual picture of we are in a situation right now where groundwork is being laid for types of games that we don't even know exist yet. They haven't even been played yet. They haven't even been made yet. Basic concept: having enough servers, gold duplication, having a wardrobe, grinding mobs being the only thing, lower dungeons being useless. Okay, I'm going to take these in pieces. Okay, John? All right, let's start with the first one, having enough servers, which, by the way, if you come in and disagree with me and take an opposing position, we really welcome that here. It's safe for work. We're respectful. I'm not going to get nasty and name call and use foul language. It's a safe for work broadcast that we actually really welcome disagreement. But I'm going to take what you're saying in pieces, okay? Not having enough servers, a well-made point. A fair point, a point they conceded. They said 30 minutes into the launch date, they were like, oh my gosh, we have made a gigantic error in judgment. There are way more people interested in this game than we thought would be, okay? Some of that could be attributed to WoW, World of Warcraft's mass exodus. Some of that could be attributed to big streamers like Shroud and Asmongold covering the game and creating more interest than maybe they would have had on their own. Who knows? They conceded that point, and they acted about as fast as they could, okay? Gold duplication. Duping of items is a problem that exists in so many games 10 times over. It existed in Diablo 1, 2, and 3. It existed in Borderlands 1, 2, and maybe 3. Duping of items is a thing that I'm not going to make excuses for, but it certainly seems extremely difficult to prevent given that so many games struggle with duping, right? It's just something that people do. Generally speaking, what you're doing when you're creating a video game with a living, breathing economy, you are attempting to push against a millennia of animal instinct that's been ingrained into human beings to take the path of least resistance, because it's a survival instinct to take the path of least resistance, right? If there is a less treacherous road to take, you're going to take that less treacherous road because you're more likely to not break your ankle and die. So that survival instinct is in you, and it applies to everything. So when you play a video game, you take the path of least resistance. Now, what this does is this evolves into, and it branches out into, exploitative behavior. Oh, I can kill this boss 18 times a day because he respawns in a busted way. I'm going to stand in this 10-foot circle. The guy that developed the Diablo Loot 2.0 system for Diablo 3 said, you got to protect players from themselves. If a player figures out he can run in a 10-foot circle and get everything in the game, he'll do it. And it's a degenerate and degrading way to play the game that will hinder and blunt their ability to enjoy it in a dynamic and expansive way, and it will hurt engagement in the long term. Sure, it's effective, but it actually has depreciating returns of engagement because people start to enjoy the game less because they basically exploited their way through all of the nuance and all of the value. So duping items stinks. Sure, they're doing everything they can to right that, fix that, and stop that. Plus, it's the dadgum players that are doing it, right? Having a wardrobe, sure, plenty of room for transmog. I provided my own feedback about that. Looking unique, being able to convert items into looking a different way, as opposed to only being able to like equip what you find or, you know, spend money. Their cosmetic store is not that impressive to begin with. I would spend money for actual transmog tokens to convert any item into a decorative item. There are people that disagree with me on this, but I think it's the right thing to do. Grinding mobs being the only thing. I don't necessarily think that is an indictment or a judgment of the game, given that is such a commonly shared method of grinding and progression in virtually any game like this, is finding mobs and grinding them, or finding a farming route and running the farming route, right? Lower dungeons being useless. I have talked about this, and I agree with you. I think they need a way to bring the lower dungeons up in difficulty and make the rewards worth doing. I think the dungeons, and this is to their credit, I think the dungeons and the expeditions are some of the best PvE content in the game, and it stinks to leave it in the first half of the game and never bring it up. So I say all that to say this. I think your overarching summary that like they're failing at the basics, I think is overstated when, as I pick apart what you said, I think you're not doing I don't think you're doing a great job substantiating your claim by being like, well, they're failing at the basics, when I think, provably we've combed over your claims and shown like, well, some of this is not their fault. Some of this is obviously, shared across the industry. Some of this is obviously, stuff that they admitted to, sure, but that doesn't mean that they're eternally locked in this summary of like they're failing at the basics, right? We design and produce trade show exhibits, interior designs, and graphic wage. Hope you're doing well. If you have clients, oh, this is somebody like, I was like, it's a voicemail. Why not seasonally shake up the server? How long ago did you say that? Oh, that's half an hour ago. Usually it's either grind 1,000 mobs or kill this really hard mob like 5 times. Yeah, generally that's part and parcel to what makes these games run. Make territories exponentially more expensive to control over time, and a reset between to mitigate intervals of control. Maybe, Daniel. Again, you don't... Here's the thing. If you disincentivize people from territory control, it starts to break down. Where you're like, there's depreciating returns of maintaining control of this territory. Well, then you're going to have people getting the territory and then throwing after a certain amount of time just because you've disincentivized keeping it. John says it's just disappointing as they're such a huge business. Hold a higher expectation. I think you're well within your right, John, to hold them to high expectations because of their budget and their reach. Yes, I think you're well within your right to do that. And I actually think the game of New World will be in a significantly better position end of this year, end of 2022. I think they're going to spend this year really honing it and crafting it and carving it. Because if you look at how long it took Diablo 3 and Final Fantasy 14 and Star Wars The Old Republic to get to really, really good places, it took a long time. Why? Because I don't think it's easy to launch a successful MMORPG. I don't think it's easy to launch a successful live service game because its success and its life depends on the subjectivity of players, and that is just very difficult to predict in a lot of ways. That's not me making excuses. I genuinely think it's one of the harder games to develop. You can develop indie games or single-player games significantly easier because of the scope of the project, right? This other game's got this right. Are you playing that game? Or, well, this other game got it right. The question would be, how long did it take them to get it right? How long did it take Final Fantasy 14 and Diablo 3 to get it right? How long? It wasn't immediate. It wasn't. You look at the history of those games. And that's where I think people forget. I think people forget just how hard it is, just how difficult it is to get a game like this into a good spot. Somebody asked, what's the exploit? So the New World Territory Control exploit is basically, you have a company in the purple faction who owns a territory. They have a subsidiary company in the orange faction that attacks them and then lets them keep the territory. So they're basically eternally locking that territory in a war that they don't intend to win. They attack to keep that territory safe from others attacking. And so you're basically creating a company that spans across the factions so they can attack themselves. That's the newest New World exploit that has landed in the game and was reported on Reddit. And Game Rant picked it up, so we picked it up. It's also important to note that each MMO community is a little different, and devs mold the game to fit the now established community. That's a good point. Like, if you decided to make this game a lot of just a ton of carbon copy influences from like World of Warcraft or something, okay? The dilemma there would be that World of Warcraft is its own game with its own community, and this is its own game with its own community. And so the desires and the aspirations and the likes and the dislikes of that community aren't going to be a one-to-one match for whatever community rallies around New World, because it's its own game. It's got its own ideas, its own, interpretations of how a game should work and how a game should operate, It's not as simple. I don't think it's as simple as just copying what somebody else is doing, That's not an exploit, though. It's bad sportsmanship. It's an exploit, brother, because they're doing something. They're using a loophole in the game system to avoid an intended consequence. That's an exploit. If you find a loophole to avoid an intended consequence, that's an exploit. It's not the same as like pushing on a wall that you can glitch through exploit, but it is still an exploit. What if they added attack windows? Timeframes wherein any company is able to assault the base given they have the funds. Maybe. Heck says, MMOs do take some time to come into their own, but they require a lead that has a vision as to where they want to go. That's exactly my point. Like, it's great to see them adapting the game to what the community's asking for, like with the New World expertise system. Well, New World gameplay centers around the idea that you're going to continue playing and getting stuff, and they adapted the high watermark system. They threw it out. They just went with the expertise system. Well, that's really good, but man, that could feel a little tectonic. You know, it is. Wow, that's creates a little instability in my confidence or anybody else's confidence in the game looking the same or resembling itself in 6 months. What's the vision you have for the game? Like, am I going to be coming back in 6 months and the expertise system's been tossed out too, and now you got some other new system? You know. Continuing from a previous message, says Hilarion, while I can empathize, that doesn't mean I have to endure it in the game. I can stop playing, watch from afar, and hope for the best. Right. You don't have to keep playing. Deadly Dad Gaming says, some would say if you don't want that to happen, just build up your influence faster and declare war as well. Eventually they won't win every war. It's not a set defense. It's not a set defense. It's a way to minimize how often they actually have to go to legitimate war. Right? You need to let devs make the game they want to make, and constantly being like, well, this game does this, you should too, isn't helpful. It depends on the game, Eugene. There are things about, like, the New World economy. They could have taken some notes from other games to avoid some of those pitfalls. You know what I'm saying? So, like, New World territory control, as an example. They could have probably taken some notes from some other games to be like, okay, how do you have ongoing PvP control, right? New World territory standing is a huge element of the game. It's a huge element of the game's sort of like ongoing life to have that as part of one of its mainstays. Well, they could have looked at other games that do similar things and maybe learned from some of the lessons. I would argue that they probably did that, given some of the systems in the game are mimics of other game systems. Shouldn't devs look at successful games for inspiration, find out what those systems did, and try to mimic it with your own twist? I feel like they did that. They did that to a certain degree with New World, but then they had their own ideas and aspirations of things that were potentially, you know, kind of new. You know, new expressions of those ideas. You know, the New World territory control exploit is not necessarily a lack of vision on their part. It's Ian Malcolm's principle. When Ian Malcolm is at Jurassic Park and they're like, oh, the dinosaurs won't be able to reproduce. And he's like, life will find a way. He says that. And then he ends up being right, you know, because they spliced DNA of frogs or whatever in there. And that created the opportunity for, you know, the animals to swap gender if they needed to mate in the wild. So life finds a way. Well, Ian Malcolm's principle applies to exploits in video games. Gamers will find a way. They will. If there's a crack in a rock on one part of the map, and that crack in that rock lets you break into the underside of the game and then go cheat in a war, players will find that crack in that rock. It'll happen, okay? It will. If you're just tuning in and you want to know about the New World territory control exploit, I outlined it at the beginning of the stream. Be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you can talk in chat. Feel free to ask me about it. I'll outline it for you right now if you want. Diablo 3 was awful at launch. They turned off so many players. Oh, yes. It took a long time for that game to get where it is now. Yo, what's good, Casual Craig? Stopping by to drop a like. Appreciate you. 343 only needs to play Titanfall 1 to see how terrible challenge progression systems is. Like, if that works on your own, twist it and make it better. Gilly, when they announced it was going to be challenge-based, I literally did an update on it and referenced Titanfall 1. I was like, they did this in Titanfall 1. Everybody hated it. It led to what? It led to gameplay breakdown. People focusing on a stupid challenge instead of doing what's good for the game or good for the mode or good for the objective. Instead, they're focused on some stupid challenge. Can't believe it. They just did it anyway. Here we sit, you know, months into the game's launch and still dealing with a challenge system that I feel like is just completely archaic, you know? Ice spike damage exploit is an exploit. I cannot look at this situation with the New World Territory Control exploit and be like, oh, people are cheating in New World Territory, you know, that's fine. It's not an exploit. It's just good strategy. No, it's not. It's completely against the spirit of the design of the game to have a subsidiary company attack you and then throw the war so that you can win. I can't look at that and call that anything else. It's an exploit. It's not how it was designed. It's not how it was designed. Gene said they don't have 20 years of data and feedback, and we're like, they got 20 years of data. It's not an exploit, though? Yes, it is. A game exploit is when you find a loophole in the game's design to minimize or avoid a consequence, right? So if you find a loophole where, oh, if you swing and then dodge, swing, it gets rid of a cooldown, so you don't actually have to endure the consequence of casting that attack. You can basically avoid it. Oh, that's an exploit. Okay, well, getting a subsidiary company to attack you to keep you in a perpetual state of war so no one can actually attack you to take the territory, you're using a loophole in the game to avoid a consequence. It's an exploit. It's not how it's designed to be done. Imagine you wanted to win that territory. You can't because they literally have, they're just never having to fight you. That's classed as a bug and therefore an exploit. It doesn't have to be a bug to be an exploit. You could do, okay, there are plenty of instances in games where you can do what is considered an exploit, where you stand on a rock or a tree within the enemy's aggro, but they can't attack you. That's considered exploitative. You found a loophole to avoid a consequence. If I climb up on this rock, the enemy will stay aggroed to me but cannot damage me, and therefore I get to do free damage without fear of taking damage. Okay, so it's not a bug, it's just you found a loophole. If I stand here, the enemy can't get me, right? That's not the way the game is designed. The game is designed that when an enemy aggroes, there's the risk of attack, and you have to mitigate the damage, dodge it, block it, parry it, whatever, or endure it through tanking. That would be considered an exploit. It doesn't have to be a bug to be an exploit. Why would people do this, says Affluent. It's not like people can't attack you. What if I push 10% with them and win the war lottery? It's their own company doing it. It's not like the subsidiary company is guaranteed to win the war exploit. It's no. It's not about them winning. They basically declare war and then they let you win. It's like, it would be like, I'm company A and I own this territory under purple. And then I get a bunch of people in the same company subsidiary, but they're orange, and they attack. And then they throw, so we get to keep it. And a genuine attack doesn't come through. A genuine war never takes place. They're throwing the fight. It would be like being a boxer and intentionally always being challenged by other boxers that we're gonna throw. And I'm the reigning champ. I've won my last 25 fights. Well, if every single one of those 25 fights was somebody that you paid to throw the fight, it wouldn't be genuine. It would be like, well, they're all thrown fights. If I'm also orange in attack and win the war lottery. What do you mean win the war lottery? So, but how are they doing it then? It was on Reddit. Like the guy had a picture. He was like, these people are declaring war on themselves. They have the same company name. If multiple companies are pushing the influence, you only need 10% to declare war. Huh. It isn't a bug. You can't go to war with someone who's already in a war. The exploit is using a subsidiary company to constantly be at war with yourself and lose, and now you can never be attacked. There's a difference between understanding game development and systems as a whole and being like, this game over here did this, just do that. Well, sure. That's one of the main issues with game comparison. One of the main challenges of game comparison is people will compare completely different ecosystems and even monetization structures. Like, well, just do what they do. It's random when people declare war. I don't understand. So how are they consistently declaring war on themselves? There's a colossal difference between feedback directly related to a 20-year franchise and general feedback and data contained within a genre when it applies to a brand new IP. Right, I think the point that Eugene is making is like, Halo was a long-standing franchise and should have known, based on feedback and player behavior and the Master Chief Collection, that people weren't going to like a complete divergence on the Battle Pass, or making a Battle Pass last for, making a Battle Pass that lasts for 6 months, and or making a progress-based challenge progression system. Those are all things that there was plenty of feedback out there about. It wasn't like they shouldn't have been in the dark. You're making another Halo. Don't you know what Halo fans want? You have the Master Chief Collection. You have years of the game. You have years of feedback about the map design and radar sensitivity and radar reach and all of that, and how that contributes to, heat maps on a map, and bad choke points or good choke points, or lopsided maps, or frustrating experiences because of too long sight lines or whatever. All those are things they know based on having made Halo for however long. If more than one company pushes a territory into a war status, any company of the assaulting faction that contributed at least 10% towards that effort can be selected at random. So then that means they must have a lot of subsidiaries. It's probably a low pop server and nobody else is pushing influence. I play on Valhalla, and if someone tried to do that, they wouldn't always win the war lottery. Sure. Affluent, I think the issue is, even on a decent pop server, they're gonna get to do it some of the time. Not all the time, and you're probably correct. It's probably a low pop server, they're always winning the lottery, and then they're like, yeah, we're gonna throw. On a medium, I would say on low to medium population servers, this is probably very common and very frustrating. Because if you're on a low pop server, it's a 50-50 chance, it's a 50-50 shot. And if they win, they're going to throw. And if they throw, then it just elongates the territory control. It's probably a low pop server where there isn't even another yellow to challenge for the 10% influence. See, but at that point, Deadly Dad Gaming, I find that more interesting. Let's say it is a low population server. Why wouldn't you just dominate the whole map and just funnel everybody into one faction? What good is it? What good is it to do that? The only reason they would do it is because it's got to be on a server where there is a potential threat of war, and they want to minimize the potential threat of war. I'm trying to be logical about this, and it might be an edge case, so there's no reason to think this hard about it. But in my mind, you wouldn't be doing it unless there was an actual legitimate threat of war. If you're on a super low pop server, there's no threat of war. Why would you even bother doing it? Why are you sure it's so common? I didn't say I was certain it was common. It's an exploit that you should be on guard for. You should be looking out for it. And probably report companies if you catch them doing it. Like, hey, you're consistently attacking yourself here, and anytime you win the lottery, you get to throw the war. That's not how this is supposed to work. For fun to have some PvP content, maybe? I don't know. We're reporting on it to let people know. It puts it on Amazon's radar. It puts it on your radar to be on guard for it, on watch for it, and to have a discussion about it. It might not be super common. It might be only in low to mid-range servers, but here's the thing. Low to mid-range servers are pretty common right now, right? Sure, high pop servers don't have to worry about this crap, but aren't the high population servers in the minority right now? Aren't there more servers in a more mid-range level, which is where this is likely to work and be effective? Apparently the company switched to purple and wanted to hand their territory over to themselves. Is this report that this guy took to Reddit with this Isagioko, who said New World companies are using their subsidiaries to attack themselves and prevent further wars from being declared on them? If this is an exploit, which it's not, how would you fix it then? I love how stubborn you are, Lewis. I respect it. because I myself am stubborn. How would I fix it? You'd have to have a system. You'd have to have a system for, like people said, you can't just keep attacking the same town. Or in the case of the lottery, if you won the lottery, the next time war is declared on that, you can't win the next one. Or it's very unlikely you're going to win the next one, right? Be careful not to explain how to do it. You might get the AGS DMCA hammer. Apparently, it wasn't about explaining how exploits work. Apparently, he had advertisements for gold selling companies or something. I've had a company reach out to me multiple times wanting to place ads on my videos up for their website that sells gold. And I'm like, why would I do that? That's against the rules. Like, what the no. So I don't know if it's been resolved or not. I don't know if he's come out and said, hey, this got resolved, we fixed it or whatever, or my account's safe now. I don't know if it's been resolved to that degree. Did he just have to take down a handful of videos in order to not get in trouble? That'd be what I would assume. You're just being an a-hole. Certain times for pushing territory. No, here's the thing. So if you want to change player behavior, there's a variety of ways to do it, and the more restrictions you add, the less effective it tends to be, or the more frustrating it tends to be. People feel like, oh, you're being too, almost like you're babysitting them. Like, now you can't attack, or you can't go for territory control unless it's this time of day, or blah 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 blah. If you essentially over-regulate the community, they're either going to do one of two things. They'll find out ways to get around it, or if they don't find out ways to get around it, they will just stop playing. They will feel like they've been sort of pushed out of the game because they'll feel like, well, you guys just you're over-regulating us. It's not fun. Our freedoms and our player volition is being, too strangled, right? So what I would say is, if you're trying to curb something like this down, number one, address the bad actors directly. Like, listen, we know what you're doing, quit. It's that simple. And then that threat is usually enough to get lots of folks to stop doing it. Okay? And then the second thing you could do is create some kind of a, I don't know. Here's the problem, because Robert says, raise the cost for repeat attacks in short time periods. Okay, well, doesn't that get problematic if a genuine company is genuinely trying to declare war and they lose, and you compound their loss by making it harder to try again? Do you see? This affects more than just the bad actors. Being in that subsidiary company, just grinding PvP missions all day, it takes a lot to get territories in conflict. If they're compensated handsomely for doing it. If a company gets to avoid war and maintain territory in perpetuity, well then they can pay you handsomely for that. So sure, you're out there grinding PvP to throw them into war, and you're being paid to do it. Do it temporarily. Even if you do it temporarily, the problem is you're compounding the loss. Oh man, we legitimately lost the war, tried to take over, and it's going to be harder to do it again. So you just, you in an inverse way made the rich get richer. They won, and now it's harder to attack them again. What about adding a substantial cooldown for declaring attack so that the other groups have a chance to attack? You could do it that way, or you could do it like if you win the war lottery, you're less likely to win the next time. But then if you're in a low pop server and you're the only company really going for it, you would get picked because there's nobody else to pick, which I guess is fine, because if the population of the server is that low, who cares if some company is attacking themselves and nobody else is? That wouldn't matter. Can you give me a quick rundown on how companies declare war in New World? What's at stake if they lose? If you declare war, it costs money to declare the war. To get to the point where you declare the war, you have to do a bunch of PvP missions in that town. So you go to First Light, and you go to the town, you go to the faction guy, and you grab all the PvP missions and you do them and you do them and you do them and all your buddies do them. And in order to do them, you have to flag for PvP and go out in that area and do stuff. And then this little meter fills, and the more that meter fills, once it's all the way full, you can declare war. And it costs money, does it not, to declare war? You're like, you can't just declare war. So what happens if you win the lottery and don't want to spend any money? What? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you guys doing something? Oh, yeah. Yeah, who spends the money to declare the war? Because if you win the lottery and you're like, we don't have the money for this, I don't understand how that aspect of it works. I don't do that part of New World. I just don't do it. The risk factor isn't very high. How hard is it to acquire large sums of gold? Well, you try to funnel it. You try to funnel it, right? You try to funnel it through your company. What if players just go and kill people doing PvP missions? That would stop this. Okay, the company pays it. Okay. Well, but that's why they make you flag for PvP, Affluent. The idea is, if you're going to come and try and throw us into war, you're going to try and throw our area into conflict, you're going to have to take the risk of being flagged for PvP in our area. So if you're orange and you own New Light, you want to be flagged for PvP and making things hard on purple and green people in your area that are flagged for PvP. You want to make it hard for them, because if they're in your territory flagged for PvP, they are likely doing PvP missions to throw you into conflict. It's 15,000 gold for the war. Okay. I think this is all confusion. My company is attacking themselves and another company. We're switching to yellow together. So that could be what people are doing. They're doing it to switch. I mean, this guy made it sound like it had been going on in his server for a while. They were like, yeah, we can't do anything. We can't declare war because they're basically constantly declaring war on themselves. Which, again, if there's not enough companies, then, because other companies have a chance to win the lottery to declare the war. Cooldowns or increased cost against certain targets seems the least harmful. I love how Lono calls yellow orange. It looks orange to me. It's like a mustardy, yellowish orange. You know what I mean? It wouldn't make sense to do it over a long period. Subsidiary company lists something ridiculously high priced. Parent company buys it. Easy transfers. Oh, you would just trade gold, Eugene. You could just go up to a player. Like, you and this guy, Steve, have hatched this plan. Well, he's purple and you're green. You just go up to him and give him gold. Like, if he's the mayor or whatever of the company, you just go give it to him through a trade. You could use the trade house to hide it, sure. Like, sell a stick for 50,000 or whatever. I don't see why they don't just disable declaring war on yourself. What legitimate reason is there to do this other than to exploit the system? Well, that's just it, Gilly. You're not declaring war on yourself. It is you're green, and your company owns New Light. And your company has a subsidiary company that's not green. And that subsidiary company is orange. And they attack you with no plans of taking over. You don't actually do it to yourself. You do, but you don't. It is, on paper, legitimate. An orange company is attacking green. And then just throwing. So actual other companies that want to take over that area from green aren't able to. Now, you also have to consider that if green is getting orange to do it, there could be purple companies that are unable to. They just can't keep up for whatever reason. Hey, Lono, I thought I'd let you know that your shorts, you started popping up in random selections of shorts. Good to see. Really? Can you give me some examples, Dusk? What shorts have popped up? You said a random selection of shorts? You need flesh that out for me. Which shorts are showing up? I'm interested because we're experimenting with that a little bit right now. It's kind of like making a Smurf account to throw. Right. Yes. Sending gold is so easy in this game. You literally can type any person's name in the game and send them gold. Yeah. How do you get a refund on PlayStation? I don't know. You have to ask Sony. Last night, all of the old MU server, Perp and Green, they all switched on yellow. Or they all switched yellow on Omeyoka. 2 companies got the declaration on ourselves. Now we will take over the server from the weak faction. Huh. Disable the subsidiaries from attacking other companies. Yeah, but Gilly, the only way you would know they were doing it if they were stupid enough to have their names matched. Does that make sense? The only reason this guy caught this is because they had the same names. If you don't have the same name, one company could be called the Cow Herders and the other company could be called the Dragons, and you have no idea that they've made this arrangement. It's wild. We talked to the new yellow governors and they said that they wouldn't snipe us. So people are coming to agreements on how to flip server control? So you're like reaching an agreement to say, hey, we won't do this or we won't do that. Why are you doing this? Are you doing this to take over the map or for equilibrium purposes? Our names are matching in the wars. Huh. Perhaps large time investments, gold investments, and crafting materials should be required to declare war. Make it costly on the player effort to slow down declarations. Yeah, but the problem with that is again, you make it too hard. If you make it too costly, then no one's ever declaring war, and then the rich just get to sit on a fat pile of gold. It was your Towley one, and there was a few others the other day. They seem to pop up around half day after you post them. Huh. Well, that's good because the Tally one is new. We're trying something new by grabbing like a 1-minute sample. We're trying to grab like 1-minute samples from the full videos just as like a way to highlight and say, hey, check this out or whatever. Just to basically get more because not everybody's going to watch the full video. So we snag a minute out of the video and throw it up as a short. The Tally one did okay. The Dr. Disrespect one was a sneak peek. So that Dr. Disrespect short is a sample from the video that's going live today. So that was more of a sneak peek than like a highlight. We have been dominating and took over the server as green. Oh, we came to the server and we took WW on day 2. Well, within moderation, of course. It could be balanced. I saw your short on Dr. Disrespect in my feed. Yeah, that channel's probably going to get better treatment now that all the Destiny stuff's been unlisted because it's a healthier channel. It's just healthier. It's like it's more pure and what's going to get recommended. You're saying, okay, so it's boring. So all of the MU guilds are going to the low factions to shake things up. So it will be strong yellow versus strong green. Oh. You would rather have like an ongoing tug of war on the server than just have like pure dominance. I've been enjoying the SNTR Presents content. This year ends 2020 predictions were great videos. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was the updates channel, and those videos did very well for how small that channel is. Just curious as devil's advocate, isn't this sort of the emergent gameplay that comes with highly player-controlled systems, wacky and wild stuff, internal politics, etc.? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Like, this is emergent gameplay. You know, it's unpredictable. It's the wild, wild west. It's not something that It's not something that you can predict. You can only attempt to I guess curb it down, you know, if they feel like it's, you know, if it's being manipulated or if it's driving players away. We need like 30 more likes to get 200 likes, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you're a member of the New World community, if you've never been here before, remember to hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you can talk in chat. That way my streams will be in your sub feed throughout the week. I'm a safe for work broadcaster. A lot of people treat me like video game radio, and they put me on in the background throughout the week. I don't always get to watch, but I love all the content you put out. Pleased for you and your community. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dusk. Hope we're strong enough to take some more areas that are not too. We're declaring for ourselves. The server is so fun. Went from like 400 pop to 1,500 in 2 weeks ago. Oh, did you get a server merge? If you guys are just tuning in for the New World Territory Control exploit, I outlined it in probably the first 4 minutes of this video today. Well, probably like first 6 minutes, and what people are doing. Do you think we have a poll at the top of the chat? You know, do you think that territory control can be improved? What should Amazon do? Is there stuff that needs to be adjusted? I didn't read the description and I accidentally bought a DLC for Borderlands 3, but it's only for the digital for the game. I mean, I don't know why you're trying to figure it out here in my chat, homie. Reach out to customer service at Sony. If it's never been installed or played or whatever, they should be able to go in and revoke the license and refund you once, maybe. I don't know how it works, but we're not going to be able to help you with it. You got to reach out to Sony. It seems like players know how to not have a good time in video games with all the cheating and exploiting. You're probably SOL? Yeah, probably. They might let you do it like one time. Like you call in like one time and you're like, hey, I messed this up. You know, I messed this up and I'd like my money back. They might let you do it like once. Even then, it's unlikely. Because, you know, it's, yeah. You don't know how to reach to Sony? I would go to their website. I'd go to their website and look for a customer service number, man. Look for a contact number, whatever. Lono confirmed Sony shill. Here you go. Ask and you shall receive. PlayStation.com, support, store, PlayStation Store refund request. The link's in the chat. There you go. Just go in there and you can contact them. Yeah, it took Wheezy 5 seconds to find that hyperlink. He used Google. Google's a little bit more of an effective search engine than a live stream chat. We can't help you. Proceeds to help viewer. Yeah, I mean, Wheezy found the link. I'm not going to go searching for it for you. Wheezy found it. I'll paste it in chat for you. Super is obviously trolling. I don't know about that. Homie's going to unsub as soon as he clicks that link. No, Super's been here before. I recognize their name and avatar. They've been here before. This isn't their first time here. I found out that you can't buy DLC on the physical game of Borderlands 3 on PlayStation. Huh. You can't. So if you own the physical version, you can't buy the digital DLC? That doesn't sound right. Yeah. Super created an account in 2018 on Christmas of 2018. So they're not just some like weird new account being silly. He ignored all of chat and wanted Streamer Man to say it. Yeah, that's a thing sometimes. That's definitely a thing. People come in and they want a response from the streamer, and when chat's like really helpful, they're like, can I do da-da-da, or where is da-da-da? And chat's like, oh, it's right here. And they're like, can I do da-da-da? Where can I find da-da-da? And chat's like, it's right here. It's right friggin' here. And they're like, yeah, but can I? And they want the streamer to say it. You know, they want the streamer to acknowledge them and answer their question. That certainly happens. Is it literal day? It's literal day, yeah. Yeah. I actually like the Ashes of Creation cosmetics design. I think they look pretty good. I do. Literally all I want is a response from Lono, always, yeah. It's a good way to verify live status. Yeah. What's the poll results here? So we polled chat and we said, New World Territory Control or New World Territory Standing. How can Amazon improve it? Can they limit how long the territory is held, make it harder to hold the territory, or it's fine how it is? 22% have said it's fine how it is. 44% are saying, hey, make it harder to hold a territory. And then 35% saying, well, limit how long it can be held. I'll say I kind of do that, but I'm working and driving. My main point of contact is the streamer unless I have time to stop in and chat. Well, sure. Be prepared for rejection. Sony hates giving refunds. I would imagine they have a vested interest in not giving you your money back. In that they like getting money from people. Have you covered Camelot Unchained development? No, I've not heard anything about it. Is it a new MMO? Since you're talking about New World, I took a little bit of time away, but now after the server mergers, my server is alive again, and getting 300 gold a day from the Christmas gifts is a nice bonus. Oh yeah, you should boot up every day and grab the Christmas gifts. I finished the whole event, so I kind of stopped. Camelot Unchained has been in development for close to 10 years? Huh. Alarian says, I say reduce the amount of penalty to others for not holding a territory. If the owning company just gets a bonus instead of actively harming the experience of others, this changes the conversation. So you're saying if the company that owns it just gets a bonus instead of actively harming the experience of others, reduce the amount of penalty to others for not holding the territory. Oh, I understand what you're saying. If you can prove that a game is broken, they'll refund it. Like Returnal, the game is broken. Every time I die, I need to restart the game. I want a refund. Thanks, Steam Crow. You wasted your only freebie? Yeah, you do. You get one freebie to be like, oops, I made a mistake, or hey, I didn't mean to download that, or whatever. Just like Star Citizen, when Camelot Unchained comes out, it'll revolutionize gaming. Okay, I've heard about Star Citizen, right? I've not heard of Camelot Unchained. Camelot Unchained. CamelotUnchained.com is an in-development fantasy massive multiplayer online role-playing game from City State Entertainment, which was partially funded through Kickstarter. Leading its production is Mark Jacobs, the former designer of Dark Age of Camelot. Based on the images here, it looks like they're going for a pretty massive medieval style. Lots of people on the map. I mean, the graphics, oops, I don't want to do that. The graphics look pretty good. I mean, it looks like par for the course for, a medieval RPG setting. Nothing mind-blowing. My favorite thing is when games are just downright terrible on Steam and you try to refund it and they just give you your money back, no questions asked. Yeah. As long as you're under the 2-hour mark, I don't think Steam ever fights the refund. I never had an issue. There were so many of those indie titles that I was just like, I'm never going to touch this game ever again. I give you guys the first 15, 20 minutes or an hour or so, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm never touching this game again, and I go refund it. They never fought me on that, ever. I got my refunds every single time. So, I don't know. If you don't own, your faction doesn't, that territory isn't subject to doing business there. If you don't pay trade, refining, or property taxes, it'll hurt your faction. Upkeep costs add up. Yeah, I think Harry was saying that, like, New World territory control was tough. It wasn't, like, easy. It's you got to stay on top of it, or it gets to be punishing, basically. What if you do touch the game way later on down the line? Well, you'd have to download it again and buy it again. This is why Lono has no expenses. Yeah, little $15 indie titles. Camelot Unchained devs are facing tough questions from backers after announcing a new PvE game called Ragnarok Colossus. They've started making a new game before the first one even came out. Yeah. Steam will also refund you the game you bought recently at full price if it was put on sale. Huh. Part of the Steam TOS is to not use the refund system as a trial system. They don't seem to care if you do that. I have, of course, done it, but it's technically against TOS. Yeah, I wasn't doing it as a trial. I would buy the game, show it off to you, and be like, okay, I'm never going to play this game ever again because I don't like it. And I would get my money back and say, yeah, the game's not fun. Like, I was only doing it when I genuinely didn't enjoy a game. There were games I bought in the Steam marketplace, and I was like, I enjoyed this, and if I had time, I'd come back and play it, and I let them keep my money, because I'm like, even though I'm not going to have time to play it, the game was good enough to warrant being like, no, I'm not gonna refund it. If some games are terrible and you keep playing whatever, you just get a refund, no questions asked. Or like when I buy something, install it, and a week later I go, I'm never going to play this, refund. Yes, if you've never booted it up, they're going to give it to you, no problem. Plenty of times I bought a game, it went on sale, I refunded and was able to buy it at the sale price. And there you go. I'm just giving Streamer Man a hard time. Even if you have booted it up, as long as it's within the 2 weeks, you're good for a refund. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, so it has to be within a reasonable time frame. You can't refund like a year later. Okay. Stream has the best policy as far as the big stores go. I mean, Steam makes it really hard for other storefronts to compete because they make all of their developers sign like a non-compete clause. So what it means is if, like, let's say you want to put your store in the Epic Games Store, and the Epic Games Store is like, hey, we're doing a big discount right now on indie games. We want to knock your game down to $10 for a week. If you agreed, you have to put the game in Steam. If you agreed to that policy at Steam, then the price of the game also drops in the Steam marketplace, which makes it impossible for other storefronts to compete with Steam, because the game can't be cheaper anywhere else. It can't be. It always has to drop in both places. So they have ways of making it impossible for other storefronts to compete. Sure, they're great for you, the consumer, but it's not great for other PC game storefronts. Can't compete. Like the Epic Games Store is projected to not be profitable until what is it? Like 20, Wheezy, you looked into it. Is it like 6 years or 8 years from now or something? Microsoft's Game of the Year, Deathloop's on sale, and it's on sale in Steam, 50% off. What a steal. It was originally 2026, but they updated it. It's even later. Oh, golly. Because of how horrible their revenue is. That is, I mean, they can get away with it. They can get away with it, but if a company Epic size basically can't successfully launch a PC storefront, most people only want Steam. Well, sure, people like having their library all in one place, their friends list is all in one place, it's more convenient. Yeah. It makes perfectly good sense. It makes perfectly good sense for somebody to say, I would just prefer to have one launcher. I hated when I had to open like Origin for different stuff. Hey, somebody ordered some coffee about 10 minutes ago. A dark roast to Frostpunk. Thank you so much. How many coffee orders is that today? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, not bad. Not bad at all. It's been a good day. I thought the NFT stream this morning was going to pop. I thought we were really going to have a hot... It was just this is a normal stream. I thought it was going to be a hotter subject. I don't think people like either. People might not even be searching for it, you know what I'm saying? I thought we were going to get overwhelmed with people. I thought it was going to be a hot debate. Generally, people seem to agree. It didn't. I was expecting more debate. I was expecting. After 3 years, they finally got a shopping cart on the Epic Games Store. So, I mean, that's an accomplishment in and of itself. They always had a shopping cart, didn't they? Oh, you mean if you want to buy multiple games? Is that what you mean? If you guys ever use the Epic Store launcher, be sure to use code Lono at checkout. That does support me. I know a lot of you probably don't use it, but or you just go over there and download free games. It finally has a shopping cart. That was literal news. I just remembered when the support a creator code thing came out, you punched it in at checkout. So is a shopping cart different than checkout? Is the shopping cart so what you can add multiple games before checking out? Is that a literal new feature? Jiminy Christmas. First year law school, they asked who was right. I would say A or B was right. Third year they asked who was right. I would say who hired me. They literally got a shopping cart after 3 years. I mean, I would imagine they're not doing much development bandwidth on it because it's not making them any money. You know what I'm saying? Why bother? It's not it's not even a loss leader. It's just a law. You had to individually purchase every game. That was probably only a common frustration point when they were doing like sales. You know what I mean? Like the average person's not like, all right, it's time for me to buy some video games. And they just like fill the cart. Generally speaking, you go and buy one game at a time most of the time. But when there's like a sale, you're like, what a nightmare. Even indie stores had shopping carts. Right. It does cause you to wonder, like, did you guys like grumpily do this? Did you anticipated it wasn't going to be, you know, worth doing. So we're going to barely invest anything in it. You know? Like, we're not making any money anyway. Did they just build a Squarespace site? I don't know. Booted up Halo Infinite, used double XP boost, proceeded to spend the next 30 minutes not completing a match due to server issues. Got temp banned due to not finishing matches. I don't mean to laugh at you, bro. I don't mean to laugh at you. But that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible, but it's also pretty funny. You're like, all right, I'm gonna finally get my grind on. I want to finally get my grind on, baby. And they're like, no, you're not. It'd be a shame if you just couldn't even get into games, and then we'll punish you for our own problems. Even though it was only a temp ban and they were having server issues, I sent a ticket to explain. I was like, WTF. Yeah, anytime. This is something I've never understood about companies that do that. Companies that do temp bans for like backing out, disconnects, or whatever. It's like, can't you see? Don't you guys have server integrity? Like, I don't know, like a server integrity like barometer or thermometer or something. And it's like, whoa, yeah, the servers right now are in the orange. They're not very reliable. People are disconnecting. There's a high ratio of disconnects. Well, then don't be handing out temp bans. Like, Epic is the one that says they want to push the market, yet basic features are missing. Yeah, it does sound like are you actually pushing the market if you're basically not even adding, you know, basic features? Sure. Temp bans for quick play is the stupidest thing in the world. Don't even at me. Just practice for being a parent. Set some time aside and get settled, and then someone shoves something up their nose or something similar. We've been dealing with that at bedtime. Oh my lands. It is the biggest headache throughout the day. I can break up fights. I can calm somebody who's crying or got hurt, you know. But my goodness, I cannot get the kids just to go to bed sometimes. It's just, it is tough. It is very, very tough. It's like, just stay in bed. The thing about it is we the TV is in the basement. So it's not like they just come strutting into the living room and you have to like get up from the couch and you know, walk over and get them a drink of water or whatever. It's like you got to get up from the couch, go all the way upstairs, go all the way to the back side of the house and put my son back in his bed. It's like, you get all settled into your couch. You know, you crack open a drink or you got the popcorn next to you or whatever. We're like ready to go. And then we hear like little feet running through the house. We're like, are you kidding me right now? I literally was just up there. Gonna go down swinging every night then. Oh yeah, yeah. They do everything they can to elongate bedtime. Every time. Here's the worst part. It doesn't ban you from that playlist. It bans you from all of them. I just don't understand, if you're going to hand out a temporary ban, why you wouldn't have a way of seeing, like, it wasn't the person's fault. You know what I mean? That's the part I don't get. It's like you can't see that it's not their fault, that it was your servers having problems, that it was, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's so odd that they don't have anything in place for that. It's always confused me. It's always confused me. Because it's one thing if somebody is legitimately just rage quitting, backing out, pulling the Ethernet cable or whatever. It's another thing when you can tell, like, your servers are having trouble. The second my butt cheeks touch the sofa. Yep, it's like as soon as you sit down, they have radar for it. If you're tuning in to hear about the New World Territory Control exploit, feel free to ask in the chat. You can hit subscribe if you want to talk in chat or take our poll. Should they do anything to New World Territory standing and how you earn it? Should it be harder? Should they limit how long you can hold it? You can take the poll at the top of the chat. You could rewind to the beginning of the stream if you want to hear, how it worked. I gave like a 4-minute rundown of what's going on. You have to have a playlist that people can play that isn't punitive towards connections. You alienate so many players if you don't. It's so much more aggressive on Master Chief Collection. They connect you to horrible ping servers that crash mid-match, and then they hand out bans. I just don't understand how they don't see it's their fault. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you not see that it's your own fault? It'd be like, spraying my driveway with water and it freezes over with ice, and then when my kids run across it, they fall, and being like, I don't understand. Why are you fall? What's the... It's like, you did it. You know what I mean? You did it. Quick plays shouldn't result in temp bans. The stakes are literally 0. Yeah, the only place it really makes sense to do temp bans is if you're going into like ranked playlists and people are like intentionally DCing because they want to avoid, whatever consequence it is to lose or whatever. I mean, that'd be the only time it would make sense to do that. I don't know. It just seems so strange to me. It's snowing here. Gotta make sure my driveway doesn't freeze. Yeah. Why are you children choosing to have no friction on that surface? Stop it. Yeah. You're clearly choosing to fall down and trip. It's like, no, it's ice. Like, your servers are crap. I'm not choosing to disconnect. It happens all the time in Destiny. Like, they even give error codes, but still they time the player out. Yeah, because the error code should be able to create a report that, like, it wasn't your fault. Quick play is literally just a non-issue playlist. I even checked the down detector after it banned me, and there were thousands of tickets submitted during that time. It might be engagement metric related. What do you mean? Like, what? Wait, you think they're doing this because it helps engagement? Like, well, it'll show more logins for the day. Just keep kicking people out. Our matchmaking is simply astounding. It's just it's constant. It's a constant trickle. Everybody's playing. Man, oh man. I've been putting videos over on, we've been repurposing some of our content over on Facebook, and I'm always interested to see how they perform. And man, some of them do okay, and then some of these videos, it's just like nothing. It's so weird. Like, random videos will get like decent exposure and views over there. Facebook is so odd. I saw a guy with a pretty big channel and a lot of viewers, and I went and clicked on it, and I was like, this is so confusing and so hard to navigate. Like, and he used the same thumbnail for every stream. I was like, what is this? It might be engagement related. More people don't rage quit, because if they rage quit, they get a ban. Quick play is literally non-issue playlist. Like, I don't get it. I don't know. It's like they're trying to discourage behavior that's not even common in quick play. Like, how often are you dealing with that? We need 12 more likes on this video to, we need 12 more likes to hit 200 likes. It loaded me under 2 of the levels, and the screen where it shows the team, everyone was pointing at different directions. My character was completely facing backwards. Oh, it like wasn't even properly loading you in the game? We were doing private matches the one night, and there was really weird stuff happening. We were doing private matches the one night, and it was like, what is this? Like, we would load into the game and like not have weapons, or we were supposed to be spectators, then suddenly we were playing. I was like, what is going on? Definitely can't be relevant to rage quitting. I rage quit at least 4 to 5 times. I play and I never have any issues. I just hit auto run when I rage quit. Oh, there we go. 200 likes. We're kind of in a holding pattern on New World. We are waiting for new information, so you know, hopefully we can get some new info. You know, they said Happy New Year on Twitter. New World was recently on sale, 25% off. Listen to the tunes of Adernum anywhere you go. They put their soundtrack on Spotify. So they were retweeting. I loved watching all the purple streamers get retweeted and get lots of follows and views for the drops. And they were like, oh, this has been so amazing. This has been so amazing. The metrics for my channel are crazy. And I was like, you didn't pay attention when these other games did this, did you? It's not genuine growth. You better chill on thinking this is really big for you. Sure, it's good for you. Sure, it's good for brand awareness, and you make some money. You get some good ad revenue for that day, but it ain't real, brother. Same thing happened with Warframe. It all dries up real fast when they stop doing it, which they have a vested interest in continuing to do it, but yo, what's good, Atwood? Fam's good. In social playlists, they should allow backfilling in case someone quits. Infinite has good population numbers, so they can afford to do it. I wish we could see the console population numbers. I wish we could see them, because it's like we have, like, if you look at the like the Halo Infinite Steam numbers. Let me see if where they are right now. Halo Infinite Steam charts. It's like, it's such a misrepresentation. Because, like, they hit 50,000 player peaks, and even, like, the week of Christmas, they were hitting, like, 50,000 player peaks. Yeah. Yeah, generally, 60 to 50,000 player peaks all the way back. They were hitting 100,000 player peaks like, December 9th, like, 150,000 to 100,000 player peaks. And then starting at around midway through December, started hitting 75 and 60,000 player peaks. But that's Steam, so it's like their all-time player peak on Steam was 256,000 players. I wish we could see the console player numbers, because there's got to be more people playing Halo on console. It's a console-based game. It's an Xbox game at its heart. I have a feeling that the Steam charts reflect the player base as a whole, trend-wise. I just don't think so. With all the criticism that came out with the way mouse and keyboard felt, I just don't think so. I don't think Halo will ever be as popular on Steam. I just don't. And people can install it via the Game Pass or whatever. Microsoft.com, most played games on Xbox. Sign me up. It's the fourth most played game. Is this in order of popularity? Because it's above Apex and below Grand Theft Auto. Only thing you can do is look at the top 100 games. I mean, this feels like it's in order of popularity because it's Fortnite, then Call of Duty Modern Warfare, then Grand Theft Auto, Halo, and then Apex. Roblox. Well, no, Roblox would probably be above all of them, wouldn't it? That's in the U.S. Well, it's primarily a popular game in the U.S. I mean, they have it up there with some heavy hitters. It's in order. It stays around the fourth most played game on Xbox. I'm talking the trends, not the numbers. Oh, the trends. Yeah, the ups and the downs, the ups and the downs. Sure. Oh, is that if you go globally, it gets bumped below FIFA, Forza, and Roblox. So it gets to 2, 4, 6. It's like 8. Still, globally, it's top 10. I don't know. That's got to be pretty good. Even globally, it maintains a top 10 placement. I mean, I don't know. I would wager to say that's pretty good. That's pretty healthy, you know, and they got to be pretty proud of that. Which gives them even more reason to get things in order because the dadgum microtransactions and the battle pass and all that is just it's all over the place. Xbox could be manipulating the top games to get more interested in Halo. I mean, I could definitely see them saying, like, this is one of our properties. We want to make sure it's consistently at the top as a most played game because that'll increase the install base. I'm not going to pretend that that's not, you know, that they might be giving it a little bit of love. But I don't know. I wager to think that Halo is pretty popular. I would wager to say that like Halo is pretty popular after all these years. Even the Master Chief Collection, I think would point to the fact that it's a regularly played and enjoyed game. You know, I would think the Master Chief Collection. I don't know if you can. That's another one where pulling up the Steam charts would be worthless because it's a console game at its heart. It's free to play, so that probably boosts activity. Well, yeah, the number one game every time you've looked at the list is Fortnite. That's free to play. Call of Duty Warzone, free to play. Like, Roblox, free to play. Like, Minecraft is up there. You know, a lot of them are Game Pass games. You know, a lot of the games on the top are Game Pass games. Sure, of course. Yeah. When it's a super accessible install, you know. Sony have loads of first-party games in the top played. Oh, wait. Well, but that's not a fair comparison because most of PlayStation's first-party games are single-player games, so they're never going to be. You understand? You're comparing Marvel's Spider-Man to Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, Rust, FIFA, Apex Legends, Minecraft. Like, goodness gracious, that you have to see how. Come on, Paul. You're smart enough to see that comparison is ludicrous. Of course single-player games aren't going to be in the top 10 or even the top 3. Now, maybe in their launch month they might. Do you not think long-term you would want first-party games in the top 10? I wouldn't think so, because that would be an expectation. How would that be an expectation rooted in reality? You're going to sell Horizon Forbidden West in February. It'll probably spike up and be a top 10 game, and then in the months that follow, it'll get knocked back down by the multiplayer games. Why? That's just the way that it works. Goodness gracious. Look, this was always an issue on Purple, right? A single-player game crops up, people care about it for a couple of weeks, maybe, and then after that, the multiplayer games storm back in and take over. Elephants are terrible animals. They never win tree climbing contests. Spider-Man is consistently in a top 10 sold games each month. Yeah, I would look at top sales, Paul, not engagement. I think you're comparing the wrong thing. Spider-Man's like the 5th best-selling game for the last 12 months. Yeah, I think that would be a better indicator because I would say if their first-party titles are consistently top sellers, that's a giant testimony to how good those games are and how lucrative they are long term. But you're never going to compete with how many people play Fortnite. That many people are not going to be playing Spider-Man every month. That's not possible. It just simply isn't possible. It's rewarding to have a game that is played long term over short term because of the cost of making the game. Not necessarily. No, that's not necessarily true, because the scope of Spider-Man was contained and it's not ongoing. It's not live service. There's no servers. There's no upkeep. There's no. They don't have to, update it with new weapons and metas and map updates or anything. They delivered a product and made a ton of money on it, and that probably funded the next game. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it from that way. Yeah, the top 10 selling games retail for 2021 year end date. You got COD, Madden, MLB, Resident Evil Village, Battlefield, Super Mario, Pokemon, Marvel, Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Yeah, top selling game for all of last year. That's pretty amazing. So I mean, and again, that they grabbed a great property. Some of that's because Spider-Man is so dadgum popular globally, and and Sony has great market share with respect to console saturation. So yeah, I mean that's why it probably did very, very well. Digital sales not included. Xbox digital sales not included. Yeah, but that's on things that are in the list, homie. So the asterisk is for digital sales not included. So Pokemon could be higher. Super Mario 3D World could be higher because they have that little asterisk there. Xbox digital sales not included. So that simply means that MLB The Show could be higher. It could be. It's just indicating that, like, hey, some of the ones in this list, we didn't include a portion of their sales. So yeah, they could be ranked higher. That doesn't mean that the it's not a good representation of the top 10 selling games or whatever. Sony was a genius with locking Spider-Man down. Oh, for sure. I mean, that's why Spidey is one of the most fought over superhero IPs because of his global popularity. PlayStation Now is adding right on time, on schedule here. They're adding 6 games in January. Where's can I just get a bullet point list? Final Fantasy 12, The Zodiac Age, Fury Unleashed, Kerbal Space Program, Mortal Kombat 11, Super Time Force Ultra, and Unturned are all getting added to PlayStation Now for January. Okay. We'll always love the shot from Doc Ock's glasses in Spidey 2. That movie's amazing. Okay. I know everyone hates publishers, but let's be real. They're really good at figuring out how much money something will make and plan accordingly. No one thought Spider-Man would make $800 million per month. Yeah. Can we all agree that this could be the biggest year of gaming that we have ever experienced? I'm still amazed at the lineup. Yeah, if they all land. We need a Superman game. What's going on? No, I don't want a Superman game. No. I love Superman. He's my favorite, but I don't think it would make for a good game. I think if you want a good game with a flying superhero, you'd be better off doing an Iron Man game. It'd be a lot easier because you could have all the different suits that you could level up, all the different abilities that you could level up, the different cosmetics you could sell to make him look fun and awesome. If you go and watch Anthem footage of like the Ranger flying around and slamming the ground, you just have to capture that. I think an Iron Man game would be significantly easier to make if you want to make a good flying game. Like a flying superhero game. Wonder Woman, yeah, Wonder Woman is coming. That'll be, you know, melee. That'll probably be melee based with her whip and her wrists and her punches and stuff. That'll be a good one, I bet. I bet you that was a good. I bet you that one will be good. Right? Reskin Anthem as Iron Man. Yeah, I don't know if I'm BioWare, I would go to Insomniac Games and be like, we'll sell you all the stuff that we built for the Ranger, and you can use it to basically rebuild it in your own engine, because Insomniac stuff is beautiful. Oh golly, can you imagine that? Oh, they would make such a good game. An Iron Man game from them would be stellar. Excuse me. A game character that's invulnerable to everything except one very rare thing. Super fun game concept. Superman gets a raw deal. Batman gets a new game all the time. Yeah, as Batman's more believable as a character that would go out and get into fisticuffs and, you know, have to get better tech to keep up with the baddies. The only way you would have a good Superman game is you'd have to have, like, Lex Luthor would have to figure out how to manufacture and distribute kryptonite, and so you'd have to have all these pockets and like gangs and villains that all have kryptonite weapons. That's the only way you would be able to do it. And even then, that would feel so forced. Like, well, the only way you could make a Superman video game is you'd have to have villains that are, you know, somehow manage to mass quantity produce kryptonite. That would just be stupid. Batman can get his butt kicked just about anyone. Easy to write that story. Yeah. Superman isn't a fun or interesting character from a video game perspective. No, yeah, I agree. I thought they did an excellent job with the Superman story in Man of Steel. I think that's the best Superman movie. It was told in a non-linear way. It was told in a way that felt important. It felt like they blended his humanity with his you know, being a superhero very well. You know, I thought the way that they showed his father on Earth played a significant role into the man that he became. I thought it was just very well done. It felt important. It felt good. It didn't feel like, you know. And then I thought they did a good job, you know, creating a guy that he actually had to fight. You know, a good fight, and a good. He didn't want to kill him. You know. Him having to take out Zod was, I thought that was so well done. I think Henry Cavill brought really good emotional, like, gravity to that scene. You know, it's fantastic. They crapped all over that with Batman versus Superman and Justice League. They just absolutely just demolished. They demolished the best version of Superman we've had in a long time. You sell me a Superman game and expect me to believe that every mob character I interact with has kryptonite and can be a threat to me? Yeah, that'd be the only way to do it, and that would be so chintzy and stupid. Like, it was a little chintzy in Batman Arkham Knight when, like, they took over that whole island so that basically anytime you were driving the Batmobile and you ran into somebody, it was a bad guy, and it didn't squash them. It, like, electrocuted them and flew them off the road. It was a little like, okay. Because if Batman was really tearing around a city like that, he'd be running people over all the dadgum time and they'd be dead. But they created like this mechanic of like the Batmobile gets so close to them and it like shocks them out of the way of the car. Okay. I can eat around that because I thought it was great that they created a game with the Batmobile. Oh, the Batmobile was so annoying. There was like one or two missions where the Batmobile was annoying. I thought the Batmobile combat was amazing. It was so fun. The way that you had to like dodge the enemy fire and use all your thing. Oh, it was great. It was great. But yeah, it would be chintzy to be like, all right, Superman, Metropolis is overrun with kryptonite-infused weapons. What are you gonna do? Like, I don't know. It'd be dumb. If you want to get really, really cool, you'd have to create somebody'd have to show up that would do something to shroud the world in darkness to weaken him, because if he gets his power from the sun, so somebody that could show up and like create an actual global storm, and then they could infuse that storm with kryptonite so that just the rain and the presence of the storm was weakening Superman. So like you could only fly short distances and you could be damaged from like punches and gunfire. But then what would be the point of that? If like, well, I'm not even Superman. I'm like some shell of Superman. It wouldn't be. Again, you'd have to do so much convoluted crap to make it to where you could even take damage and be like, okay, why are we even bothering with this? You got to do that. Just have him fighting aliens like Doomsday, magic wielders. Could be a war with the dark side. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. By the time, like I said, if you want to make a flying superhero game and you want to make it good, just make Iron Man. It's so much easier. You know what I mean? It's so much easier. Because if not, then you got to do too many of these other things. Because let's be honest, if you were trying to sell a Superman game, people would want to be flying around Metropolis. People would want to be seeing Superman in his traditional setting and fighting Lex Luthor or fighting, you wouldn't want to have him fighting like all these aliens or have him be off world. That'd be the only way to do it. You'd have to take him off world or bring them all to the Earth. Every enemy can't do Doomsday and Darkseid. Right, it would become again. It wouldn't be very, I don't know. A compelling game needs low-level mobs. Yeah. You'd have to make it a boss rush. It'd have to be a boss rush game. Just Superman fighting bosses, That'd be all it would. That's all it would be. It would just punch henchmen and kill them, Oops, sorry. I literally caved your skull in. You know what I mean? Have they ever addressed that in any of the Superman comics? Like, he's so strong that he'd be killing people by accident all the time. He'd be like, stop. And the guy's like, no. And he's like, and he punches him in the chest. And the guy's chest just caves in. His heart is crushed. And he's dead. Come on, Superman. You gotta take it easy. You gotta dial it back. He slaps a guy, breaks his neck. Slaps him and his head spins around. Whoops. He has perfect control over his strength. Do they write that into the lore? Why would he have perfect control over his strength? Because he's not. Is he from a? No, because he wouldn't be from a place where the humans are fragile compared to him. Humans are fragile, so he has to know at what level does he know their fragility and holds back. Because if he gets in a fight with Zod, it's not the same as stopping a bank robber. Spider-Man pulls his punches as well. You can't pull a punch. That's like, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess I can pull my punches against like my kiddos when we're wrestling and stuff and I'm shoving them. Sure, if I shoved them as hard as I could, I would injure them. Zod explains it in Man of Steel. Spent years perfecting my sense. It's the same as you playing with your son and playing with an adult. Right. Yeah, I guess I could see that. I just think his capacity for strength is so much greater. He'd have to restrain himself so much. He'd be killing people by accident all the time. You know what I mean? Me pulling back with my son is one thing. I don't have the capacity to like accidentally kill him, right? Like, oh, you shoved him too hard and you broke all of his bones in his body. Like, Superman's capacity for strength is so much higher. He's essentially like lightly. He's like lightly light. It's like he can't really punch. He's got to be like, just like a glancing blow. His capacity for strength is so insane, He just accidentally busts a guy's jaw clean off. Oh, whoops. I didn't mean to punch you that hard. The guy's jaw is just like dangling from his face. That's why you have that scene in the diner in Man of Steel where he restrains himself. Yeah. Superman has limiters, as evidence from the comics. Yeah, that's what I mean. So do they create concrete lore to explain why he's not accidentally killing people all the time? Canonically, he isn't weak to kryptonite. It's a self-imposed limit that he puts on himself. Same for magic. Huh. It'd be like picking up an ant. Like, yeah, try to be gentle with an ant. Try to lightly, like, tap an ant. I killed it again. It's just like Spider-Man. He has to pull his punches. When Doc Ock took over his body during Superior Spider-Man, he realized that Peter had been holding back the whole time. Huh. It was a mental block as to why he was weak against kryptonite. Superman doesn't need to breathe or eat, but he didn't know that until later in his career. Huh. So his body is just like self-sustaining? Does he just need to soak up the sun's energy and that's all he needs? Like if you put him in a cave, would he eventually die? Or is he almost immortal? He just needs the sun rays. He's basically a big plant. He's a big effing plant. He's a rose bush. Part of Superman's strength is his mastery over his own muscle movements. Superman is hilariously overpowered. He's essentially immortal. Quoting Superman from Batman vs. Superman, if I wanted it, you'd be dead already. He knows what he's capable of and he's holding it back. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. He'd punch you one time and you'd be dead. He would crush your body, your frame, your jaw, your skull, your chest cavity. He would hit you once and that'd be the end of it. I'm not lying. In the comics over the years, it's established. They're saying to beat him, we got to chuck him into the sun. That's what people have always said with Superman versus Hulk. One of them would have to outsmart the other and literally hurl their body into the sun so they're burned up. Because the temperature would exceed what their physical form could take and they would disintegrate. Which the question would become, if you threw Superman into the sun, would the extreme nature of him getting that close to the sun make him stronger the closer he got? So he would he destroy the sun? He would obliterate the Hulk? Yeah, because he would just heat ray Hulk into nothing, wouldn't he? Just blast him through his skull, and then Hulk would be dead. Although it seemed like in the MCU they tried to make it seem like Hulk couldn't be killed. Because he said he used a gun and he spit out the bullet. Almost as if like the body healed itself, turning into the Hulk. Like when he falls on the Bifrost, like you can tell he breaks a bunch of bones and then all of a sudden he's fine. Is it the close? I don't think it's the closer he is to the sun, it's just the sun rays. I just wonder if he got closer to the sun, would the intensity of the sun rays make him stronger? Superman Prime is a Superman that lived for 85,000 years. When you were talking about manufacturing kryptonite, I had Superman 3 flashbacks when Richard Pryor made up the missing elements and we got evil Superman. Superman 1 million, he actually lived in the sun. He's literally a living extension of the sun. No Hulk can compare to Superman. Hulk self-heals. Yeah, but I mean, Superman would literally just grab Hulk. He would just grab Hulk and fly up to the sun and just throw Hulk into the sun, and then that'd be the end of it. The Hulk would burn up and be gone. He'd be dust. If he couldn't beat him in brute strength, right? If they somehow got it to where Hulk was on equal physical strength to Superman, well, then he would just tie him up and fly, because Hulk can't fly. He'd just fly him up to the sun. And be like, all right, here you go. He'd get close enough that he'd burn up. Self-heal doesn't stop you from complete disintegration. Yeah. Can Hulk self-heal from Superman ripping his head off? He'd crush Hulk over and over. So then he couldn't heal. In Krypton's universe, they have a red sun. They are essentially like us on that world, just advanced. Right, and the yellow sun is what gives him his power. That's why he struggles to use it when he's young, because it's not normal. It's why Zod struggles with it when he starts to feel it. It's like it's disorienting. It's not normal. It's not how they were. It's not like a normal like character arc for them. Just flying Hulk somewhere doesn't sound like an easy task. For Superman, it would be easy. What are you talking about? Superman could pick up a tank and fly around with it. You think Hulk would be hard to pick up and fly around with? Hulk doesn't have like the density of a planet or something. Like if Superman can pick up virtually anything, so you pick up the Hulk, and, you know, he would just literally put him in like a full like a full on like wrestling like suppression hold and just fly him up to the sun. Shades of repeat theater. Yeah, I know. Superman has, and I repeat, no limits to his strength. A tank doesn't fight back. That's what I mean, though. If they're equal in strength, he could just hold him and fly him up to the sun. He just has to beat him first. Iron Man picked him up. Yeah, Iron Man picked up Hulk. Yeah. Semi-different note. What do you think about the possibility of a 007 GoldenEye coming to Xbox? Oh, yeah, the achievements that got revealed. Yeah. That's not surprising. There's been all kind of remakes of that property over and over again. It's not surprising that somebody picked it up and probably bought the rights. Probably rare. They're not equal in strength. Every incarnation of Superman is infinitely stronger than the Hulk. Why can the sun's heat kill Why can't it kill Superman or Hulk? It can kill the Hulk, but it wouldn't kill Superman because he draws strength from it. He could undoubtedly get closer to it than Hulk could. Thanos can manhandle you. You need to leave Superman be. Yeah, Thanos just beat him with the raw strength as a Titan, right? He didn't use the stones. The only person who could stop Superman is Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, because he could break down the molecular structure of Superman's body. He could disintegrate him with his mind. Yeah, Dr. Manhattan might be able to. Yeah, like what Wheezy's saying, you got to be able to warp reality. Like Dr. Manhattan could break him down at his molecular level and just destroy him with his mind. A better matchup for Superman is Reed Richards or any other reality benders. Yeah, with the Fantastic Four's son. Yeah. The full game came out early 2021. Yeah, not Reed Richards, his son. Yeah. Superman has more than enough strength to eject Hulk into a sub-solar orbital path. He wouldn't even have to take him all the way there. Once in space, Hulk can't move. That's exactly right, Gilly. Once he set his trajectory of flight to the sun, it'd be over. Because Hulk would just get into outer space and not be able to stop it. He would just be flailing about, just heading towards the sun. And then he'd be dead. He'd get burned up. You can also nuke Superman. Excessive radiation has been shown to hurt him. Also, unlike Superman, Hulk can't breathe in space. Oh, he wouldn't even die before he got to the sun then. He would freeze and have no oxygen, and therefore he'd experience cell death, and then he'd hit the sun and it'd be over. I don't think it would be light work. How y'all talking? Well, that's what Wheezy is saying. According to the mythology and the lore of Superman, he has no limitations in his strength, and Hulk does. Battle of the century, Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man would give him a run for his money, but he would still lose. Weezy says, you don't realize how strong Superman is. Jokes aside, can we have a show for this type of debate? Quite honestly, I love the over-debating New World. I love this over-debating New World exploits or whatever. Well, I mean, we tried it, and it didn't do well. We tried to have a show where we talked TV shows and movies, and it just was too tough. You got to be able to jump on every relevant movie, every relevant show, and you need a staff for that. We had a great show name, we had a great concept. There's no way to do it. You need a dadgum staff. The YouTube channels that do that successfully, it's not a couple people just doing it as a hobby. You need to absolutely you would actually have to throw money at it. You would have to probably get come up with a business structure, get business loans, and throw money at it to fully successfully launch a project like Repeat Theater. Because you would need to pay staff members and stuff. You got your refund? Good. You'd need to be able to pay people to research the shows, get the articles going. I don't know. We could probably run a channel like that the way we run updates, because I can crank out content very quickly, but we just don't have enough hours in a day. I stream for 6 hours of the workday. We burn a lot of daylight just with the live streams. If I wasn't live streaming, I could create content for 10 channels. You know what I'm saying? The amount of videos I could create in a 6 hour period, it'd be insane. I could have a channel where I reviewed, Book of Boba Fett episode 1. I could have done an episode. I could have reviewed every episode of The Wheel of Time. I could, watch the latest movies or whatever and try and review them. Sure, but I can't do that when I'm live streaming for 6 hours a day. Yeah, and you would need staff and press connects because, again, you would need to be able to get the early access. You would need to be able to have actual press credentials because a lot of times, trying to run that stuff early, trailers and stuff, you get slammed without press credentials. It's really, really hard to successfully cover, movies and TV shows and that kind of stuff. Now, a great channel where all we do is debate pop culture and superheroes and stuff like that, That's good content, and if you do it right, it's evergreen because that's the kind of stuff that people search for all the time. But holy frick, you'd run out of content super fast. Yeah, it'd run out of content super fast. We're considering doing a weekly live show over on Presents because with everything I'm going to talk about this week, with Doc going after Purple, that's the video that goes up in 10 minutes. Doc's basically said for 2022 he's going after him. He said he's going to get unbanned and get money. We got Nadeshot, calling out Activision about CDL and Call of Duty. We got Gordon Ramsay interacting with XQC and the Purple Platform about. I don't know if they're gonna come to an amicable agreement about the MasterChef streaming, but it's far bigger than people just streaming MasterChef. I saw 6 different TV shows being streamed on that platform this morning. So it'd be great to have a weekly show where we could break down and discuss all the things from the week over there. I just don't think we'd be able to sustain a superhero movie TV show debate channel. I just don't think there'd be a way to sustain it. It would be really, really hard to maintain it and to make it profitable. Hulk has cosmic level strength. He lifted Mjolnir out of strength. That's scary. Yeah, Hulk's body can't hold a supernova. You're ignoring an extremely powerful MCU character, Scarlet Witch. Well, she was stronger than Thanos. He had to cheat, right, to beat her. She was stronger than Thanos. She was making him purr like a kitten. She was going to rip him into pieces. She's extremely strong. And she would potentially give Superman a run for his money because she can mess with reality. The same way that, Reed Richards' son can mess with reality, or Dr. Manhattan. You would need somebody that could actually mess with the molecular structure of Superman's body to beat him. If it's just strength versus strength, nobody's going to come close. He's going to punch you and you're dead. He will literally cave your skull in. with one punch. If your physical body can't resist it, if your physical body could resist it like Spider-Man, he would just take you up and throw you into the sun. Because he can breathe in outer space, and the sun gives him strength. And Spider-Man, anybody that could match him in like, oh, my body can take the hit, well, then he'll just throw you into the sun. Yeah, Doctor Strange might be able to hold his own. He'd have to bend reality to beat Superman. Yeah, weak to magic or weak to reality bending. Yes. There's a point where a superhero becomes so overpowered, it's just ridiculous and laughable. Well, what we're talking about is one of the reasons that there are people that don't like Superman for that reason. They think it makes him boring. They think it makes Superman boring to be like, he's essentially immortal. It's like you can't kill him. That's why there are actually people that don't like Superman. They don't like him as a superhero because they're like, that's not interesting. I like him for a whole host of other reasons. I think the lore behind him is fantastic. I do. I think I always connected with him at a level of like, he was a geeky guy with glasses who was a superhero underneath. And as a nerdy little kid that was a geeky kid with glasses, I liked seeing that a guy could be like a superhero. Has plans for Twitch. Do this. I'm getting my tweet ready for this premiere. I always have to like scramble. Marvel excelled at giving superheroes problems, which made them relatable. There's zero relatability with Superman. But here, Jerry, I disagree. If you watch Man of Steel, I think historically, canonically, yes, most of the representations of Superman are very tough to relate to. I thought Man of Steel brilliantly took it and said it's made him so different that it isolated him and it made him make sacrifices and choices that were heavy, right? The idea of like his dad told him, whatever type of man you become will change history. You will and can determine the course of history. His dad saw how important and pivotal he would be because of how strong he was. He knew this isn't just like, oh, I can rescue cats from the tree or stop a bank robber. It's like, whatever man you become will change the course of history. It's similar to the mythology in the Captain America First Avenger movie, where the doctor's like, whatever's in here is going to be magnified by the serum, so we can't pick a bully, we have to pick a hero. We need a person with the hero's heart to give the serum, because whatever's in here is going to get bigger. And so Captain America becomes more noble and more loyal and more strong-willed because of the serum. So that's something that's woven into Cap's mythology, is that Captain America isn't just physically incredibly strong. His will is made stronger by the serum, according to what the doctor says. In a similar way. So the way they told the story that his powers isolated him, he was a loner, he felt lonely. As a kid, he's like, the world's too big, Mom. She's like, make it smaller, right? And then the reason he held back against Zod, he could have killed Zod as soon as Zod showed up. If you watch the fight, he holds back the whole time. He's holding back. It's almost, Zod even says something at some point to indicate that, like, you're holding back. Could have killed him the entire time. He didn't want to. He kills him, and it is tragically sad after killing him, because it seals his fate as being truly alone in the universe. He is the literal last of his kind. I thought the alien isolationism angle they took in Man of Steel was brilliant and made him relatable. We've all felt alone. We've all felt like we weren't accepted, or we were an outsider or a loner or like a loser or whatever. Like, everybody's felt that way at some point in their life. And so I thought that made Superman relatable. What it was like to be in school and be different. What it was like to be in school and be, and have kids pick on you because you're different. Like, those types of things. I thought that was excellent. That's why I think Man of Steel is the best Superman, like, story that we've ever gotten. I think it operates at a better level, at another level of storytelling that you don't get. And not only that, it has messianic overtones. It has messianic overtones because he goes and sees, he's supposed to be messianic in imagery. The sole single son, think about it. Like, if you're familiar with the story of Christmas, right? That, like, this guy sends his only son to Earth to save us all. Well, I mean, that's kind of Superman's story, is it not? Superman's their only son, and he gets sent to Earth, and he's basically there to save everybody. So he's very messianic. And that imagery is in Man of Steel. He goes and he talks to the priest, and the priest talks about sacrifice, leap of faith, and all this stuff. And then when his son tells him, when his dad tells him, you can save them all, he jumps out of the ship, and he throws his arm like this, almost like in the shape of a cross, like Christ, right? Like the Christ-like imagery in the church, and he's the son that comes to save humanity. Superman is even given that, I think, messianic imagery in Man of Steel, which I think is brilliant. I think that's a great way to inject it with almost like ancient-like mythology into this guy that runs around in a suit and a cape, flying around and saving people. It's probably why I don't like Superman even more. It comes off too much as just, you know what rhetoric, and I don't go any further than that. I disagree with that one. I think that was explicitly in Man of Steel. Superman always represented what happens when man has too much power but chooses it for good to inspire. Someone's spamming. Check the channels. Where? What is that? Is Jimmy-Ford? Oh, it's Jimmy-Ford. Jimmy-Ford, what are you doing? Yeah, he's putting it everywhere. I'm not sure what he's doing. His account might have gotten hacked. Where all is he putting it? Okay, I think I got it all. I don't know though. I think there's definitely always been that religious overtone in Superman. A distant father sends his son to Earth, and his son has to save people. Okay, here's another one. I'm gonna have to kick him from the server. Hang on. I need to kick him from the server. I don't understand why is it so hard to ban people? Here we go. Kick. Thanks, Abe. I got it. I used that one to kick him from the server because he probably just got hacked. Jimiford's a regular member here. He's not like an untrustworthy person. I think he probably just had his account hacked. Okay. Well, good debate. I need you guys to help me with something. This other channel, our other channel, SNTR Presents, has like 47,000 subs. We unlisted like 13 million views worth of videos to purify that channel, and it's performing very well in light of us doing that. We're kind of surprised, pleasantly surprised, but we still need, when these 3 o'clock premieres hit, we need you guys to give them some love. And today, the messages are still there. I deleted them. I deleted them all. Oh, they're in other LFG rooms. He literally went into every dadgum room. Golly frick. I'm taking care of this right now. So what I was saying is you guys really in the afternoons when we're all hanging out and having this good time, if you can give me 8 minutes of your life, 8 minutes of your life, 8 minutes is what I need. Every day at 3 o'clock, we send you guys over to a premiere. This one is about Dr. Disrespect going after Twitch. You're not going to want to miss this one, all right? This one's good. He's going after him, all right? If you can hear my voice right now, you've been hanging out today, do me a favor. There is a link in the chat right now. Click it. Go hang out over there. We're going to give you some real good reasons to continue tuning in over there. I got good videos coming this week. Today's about Dr. Disrespect calling out. He's going after Twitch. Gordon Ramsay's maybe getting involved in the MasterChef situation of people streaming copyrighted material on Purple. And Nadeshot called out Activision about Call of Duty and the CDL. Good stuff, good vids all week long, just like here. Go over there. I'll see you for the premiere, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.